And we'll call this June 28th regular scheduled meeting of the board into order. Start off today with the invocation by Magistrate Ronnie short.
With everybody out there. Lord, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you, Lord, for your many blessings, for watching over us. We pray for those in the county that needs a special touch in their lives, Lord, today. We pray, God, that you'll bless this court today as we enter into things to do for our county. We pray, God, that we'll make the right decisions, Lord, in all that we do. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. You'll join me in a pledge of allegiance to our flag. Break it up. There we go. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, thank you. Okay, next we need to approve the prior minutes, meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Has been seconded. Magistrate Cullen, the motion was by Magistrate Salmons. Any discussion, changes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I think that Mr. Mariah is there ready to pay bills. Glad you're back, Mr. Mariah.
Thanks. I'm glad to be back. This got added this morning, so I'm going to pass this out real quickly here. And I did put a paper copy in front of everybody this morning because we were doing some additions yesterday at the end of the fiscal year. So our bills to be paid totals at $1,005,932.07. The standing orders that were paid out totaled to $359,159.64.
I move that we pay the bills as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Magistrate Gay to approve the bill as presented, seconded by Magistrate Short. Any comments or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, we have some budget transfers.
Oh, we do. 5 pages worth. They total $192,200.21.
Okay.
Make a motion we approve. Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Cullen to approve the budget transfers as presented and seconded by Magistrate Gay. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Next, cash transfers.
Yes. This is mostly a little bit of cleanup between accounts. It totals $1,075,935.93.
That have been transferred to what?
Well, it's a little cleanup. Couple of different accounts where things were just entered incorrectly to one account or another. We do have the ARPA fund where we're transferring $1 million over for lost revenue,
That just goes to general fund.
and that's going to the general fund.
So there's jail
So that's
restricted
the
fund, E911, jail joint fund, ARPA fund, Boyle, and restricted fund that things are being transferred in and out of. So,
I'll make that motion.
second.
We have a motion to approve the cash transfers by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Cullen. Any more comments, questions, or discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, moving into consent calendar, and I'd like to invite Miss Susan Craddock up to the podium and to address us, please, ma'am. And tell us a little bit about you and everything.
Okay, I appreciate being here today, and thank you, Jason, for inviting me. And I was in the Air Force from 1975 to 79. Should I tell you what I did before that, or start from there?
Start from there.
Okay. 1975 to 79, and back then, less than 5% of the women, I mean, the population in the military was 5% less. And so, just to show you an example of how unprepared they were for women, I went into the hospital for sick call. And as you know how sick call is if you were in the military. So I went in and it was my turn. The doctor's back was to me, and he said, drop him and bend over. So at that time, I was thinking to myself, well, I was 18 years old. I wanted to obey all the rules and regulations, so I promptly complied, you know. And then I'm thinking now, I would like to have seen his face, but when he turned around and realized I was a female, you know. But anyway, that's one of the things that happened to me, you know. But I'm sure it's come a long way now. You know, it's a lot much better than it was then. But the main reason I'm here today is to talk to you about the honor flight that I recently went on.
Right.
And it was 2 weeks ago.
Ms. Craddock, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I should have done a better job in introducing her. So Ms. Craddock's from District 4. She lives out on Kings Mill. And I'd gotten wind that she was going to be on the honor flight that just happened. It was an
All women veterans.
all female.
First
women
ever.
veterans honor flight. And so, you know, John has discussed his honor flight, and you know, I still love hearing that story, and so I wanted to invite Ms. Craddock here as well to kind of give her story on what happened. I happened to be in Missouri at the time when it was going on, but they did a great job posting like live videos on Facebook, which was fantastic. So that's why I wanted Ms. Craddock to be here to kind of give us an idea of everything that happened that day that she can, and feelings or whatever. So
It was excellent. Friday night, we were invited to Frankfurt to the, what's it called, the Kentucky Historical Society. And they had a special exhibit, there you go, I couldn't think of the word. A special exhibit for just women veterans, women in the military. And it was, wow, exceptional. If you've never been there or to see that, you should take a trip. You know, it was just amazing. Some of the women that were in our group, 134 women, they were in the exhibit as well, because they were like combat, did something extraordinary. And then after that, we had, we saw that. Then we had a Lieutenant Colonel retired female, can't think of the word of it, comedian. So she put on a show for us for about an hour, 45 minutes. And then they had open bar and hors d'oeuvres, and they really went all out for us. And the tables were exquisite as well, and they had centerpieces, ice sculptures, just fancy. And then, what else was there? Let me see. Alyssa is his wife's name. Doug, I'm sorry, I should have wrote all this down, but Doug and Alyssa from Channel 36, news anchors, they sit at my table. And all the media was there. And so we had dinner, we had special guests, speakers. It was a 4-star general, highest ranking woman in the Air Force. And so she was a speaker. And we had Doug, I can't think of his name, does anybody know his last name? I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me, sorry.
that's all right.
So he was a speaker as well. There were people that were large contributors at the dinner also. They mentioned, I can't think of his name right now. He has a horse ranch.
William Shatner.
William Shatner.
Yeah.
He's a big
Yeah.
contributor also. So we left at 5 o'clock. Had to be at the airport at 5 o'clock Saturday morning. And let's see, we had a big breakfast before we left. They had a table set for us and had breakfast. And we had an Army Major General, I believe was her rank, and she's from the Pentagon, and I can't think of her name, but she referred to herself kind of like a bobblehead because she was short, and she had to stand up on, to get higher up. But I was just with some amazing women the whole time. I was just very impressed. So we were on the plane. We had a flight buddy, and my buddy was an intelligence officer. And she said how what is the word? She felt like she didn't belong there among all these women. And I said, what? I said, we're all important, every one of us. No matter what we did, everybody is important, no matter what job you did in the military. So I'm thinking, wow, she's a intelligence officer. She says you don't have to have it to be it. So we got to see of course, all the monuments, which was amazing to see those. If you've never seen them, take a trip. It's really a 2-day thing. We were bused we had 3 buses of us, and because we were bused, we didn't have to walk as far. But that's why I'm saying it would take probably 2 days to see everything. But I was thoroughly impressed with seeing that. It made me proud to see it. But the most proudest thing was being around so many women, ordinary women, that did extraordinary things. That was the best part of my trip, I would say. One of the best parts. There was many, but coming home, there were 4,000 people greeting us. That welcome home was something else that made me tear up. But that so many people welcomed us home, and that was just amazing. And if ever you know anyone that wants to go or serve, by all means, encourage them to go. And this weekend I walked the 5K at Keeneland as a benefit for the honored flight. And Toyota was there. They're one of the big contributors also. And there must have been 400 of their employees there. And there were about 20 of us, I think. But they had 70,000 was what they raised.
Wow.
So, yes. So, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to ask them or answer them.
No, I'm just.
What qualified you to do that?
Well, I didn't mention that. I was a first female missile mechanic at Ellsworth Air Force Base. And when they saw that I was a female coming, the men weren't ready yet to work with a woman. So they put me in the hangar, and I loaded and downloaded trucks for a while. I issued equipment, and then I worked in the TO library, which made deletions and additions to the books that they had to have always with them doing their job. If there was any changes, they had to know it and be on top of it. And so I did that. Excuse me, from the last year and a half, I would say. I also got to do bomb loading. I was protocol, so I got to answer phones and tell what was going on with the competition to the different SAC bases. And I also escorted the higher ranking officers to and from the flight line. So that was the biggest excitement of that, I would say. And then also General Doherty, I met him. He was the head of SAC at the time. So.
Russell Daugherty,
What was the date of your honor? What was the date of your honor flight?
It was the June the 11th. The day before Women's Veterans Day.
Okay.
They
Awesome.
started.
Related to this, if you haven't seen it or heard from Jack Hendricks is attempting to find any World War II veterans because there's a B-25 over in Lexington, and they want to put anybody from Boyle County on that flight because it's going to be free to anybody who is a World War II veteran.
It is.
It's going to Danville.
It's going to
It's
be.
coming actually here.
Yep.
Wonderful.
It'll be that
That's
they'll
right.
and they only have I think one or two vets that are able to make it right now, so they're trying to find more.
My father was on the honor flight 15 years ago, and he came home and told my sister it was the best day of his life.
It's wonderful, yes. It's a memorable occasion, you never forget. I took my dad 7 years ago. He was a World War II veteran. He went over in the Pacific during the testing of the bomb, and he had the seaplane, was ready with the seaplane to bring the scientists back if anything was to happen. You know, he and another guy were responsible for bringing them back. So, but anyway, I hope I presented it well today.
No, that was
I
fantastic.
was a little nervous.
Yeah. Well,
But-
we appreciate your service, and I
Yeah,
appreciate
we
you
do.
coming
Thank
here
you.
and talking about this. And
Yeah, thank you.
you know, and I mean, just watching this through Facebook, I was in awe about, you know, everything that's going on. So I could only imagine being there and actually being a vet that you know, I'm grateful that we still have a large population of Americans that appreciate their veterans and what they've done for this country. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
for,
you.
Thank you
Judge,
for your
when we're
service.
discussing adjourning, I'd like to consider honoring the 174 women who went on that flight in mid-June.
Okay, let's, you know,
Yeah, we did
it'll be
that.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your service and for
Yeah.
being a female pioneer, really.
Yeah.
As you said, that's amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
74 is when I got in, and there wasn't very many around then.
Yeah. It's great.
It was that glass ceiling kind of time
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
military.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Well, the best thank you we can probably
Yeah,
give you
thank
is
you.
let you know that you don't have to hang out for the whole court
Yeah.
session.
Okay, thank you.
As soon as we start
You're
recording,
welcome to
you're
leave.
welcome to leave.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda
So
is
much.
a discussion about
Only if you
the
need anything.
administrative code. I suppose that we need to, has everybody had a chance to look through it and see what, you know, any corrections or changes need to be made, or additions, deletions?
Has Chris reviewed it?
Yes.
Yes. And most of the new changes come from Rich Ornstein's model code. The biggest change to any of it, any significance, is the KRS citation on the procurement code standards that we adhere to. And
I'll make a motion that we approve the
Well,
administrative
you also
code
had
as
to put the
presented.
HR
yeah,
part in there too, that since we've never had an HR person.
I haven't had a chance to look at it. I'd like
Uh,
to put it off for another couple of weeks if possible.
do what?
I said, I'm kind of lost on it. I'd like to look it over again.
We have to approve it in June.
I'm sorry?
We've got approved this month. don't we?
You gotta
Did I
approve it.
approve it this month?
Yeah.
So I'll make the motion, we approve it as presented.
Second.
Okay, it has to be done before July, before the new FY. Now, we can not do anything, you know, like
Let it roll.
Darlene's told me, just let it roll over, but let her. I think we're hurting ourselves through procurement code if we don't do something this month. because there's different sections of the KRS that gives us more legal flexibility than what we currently are guided by, so.
If, if we have an issue, we can always come back and make changes to it?
I think that's on the anniversary.
No, you can,
No? Okay.
you can modify it if you,
Yeah, I think we can.
I think we've done that in the past.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be reviewed and recertified annually.
Okay.
Would that
So
help
we
you,
can
Phil?
make changes during the interim, okay?
Phil,
But it's
you
important to get the procurement part in
okay
there.
with that?
Okay, so we had a motion by Magistrate Gaines, second by Magistrate Cullen to approve the administrative code. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you. All right, moratorium. Who's got this? All right, moratorium is in regard to the
Solar discussion.
Huh?
The solar discussion?
The solar discussion. I can tell you that with Steve leaving, which he's going to be talking about here in just a minute, I think we need to allow more time under the moratorium to formulate with whoever his replacement is a pathway forward. Also, I'd like to make a statement that PJM, and Tom got this, is the clearinghouse for solar expansions. And right now, they're in a lull of approval of solar applications. And it's been that way for almost a year with no end in sight. So I don't know, it's just the one in our region. I would ask the court to consider a moratorium as long as PJM is not issuing solar contracts.
Judge, may I speak to that? Jason, John, and I have been at the solar forums that have taken place in the last 6 weeks, and I was actually stopped after it ended. A gentleman came over to me, extremely interested in the effect of solar on his farm, and he surprised me. He brought up this moratorium that comes from actually the federal level, and I think one of the sense of the meeting that we had just this past week was from Mark Morgan, the attorney, who is carrying the ball for quite a few people on solar, and he made a strong speech about until you know exactly what you're dealing with, you may want to hold things off. Well, we're looking at 18 days before our moratorium runs out, and apparently there are a lot of details on the one hand, and then this PGM, Pennsylvania, Jersey, and Maryland consideration that I've got the document right here. We can't know all the details until they make a determination. So I'd make a motion that we lift the current, and I don't know, we don't have our attorney here, but I think under parliamentary procedure, we'd have to lift the July 15 and then have a second motion. So my first motion would be to lift the drop dead date of July 15 so that we can then proceed with another motion that would actually give us more time based on when this, hate the word, but bureaucratic situation is lifted, so that we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. So my first motion is to lift the July 15.
I'll second that. I've been to the P&Z, and as Tom brought out, I learn something every time I go to a meeting, and there's a whole lot to this. So that's why I'm glad to second the motion.
Jason? Okay, we have a motion to lift the current moratorium of July 15. And made by Magistrate L, second by Magistrate Caywood. Any discussion on that?
Well, it looks to me like we'd have to, with that motion, then they need to also give you a date when he wants to bring it.
That would be my second
That's
motion.
gonna be a second motion.
It'll be a second motion.
Why would it need to be a second motion? Doesn't it all be in one motion?
Well, we're lifting the previously agreed upon motion to July 15th. And it's just better that we don't vote on that and agree on that and then move to the next date out there in the future.
All right, apparently,
We have to vote on this one.
yeah,
All
Call the
right, any
question.
other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
knowing how bureaucracies work, I'd make a motion that we delay any decision by this court until October 15. So
I
that
would-
we have all
I
the
would go,
information.
I was gonna recommend going 6 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's do
Let's
this
go.
until the
I
end
would
of the
recommend
year.
End of the year.
6 months too, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
I'll go
because
6 months. Yeah.
I'll,
pretty
I'll,
close.
Like winter to me.
you wanna make that motion?
Yeah, 6 months would be.
Yeah.
I'll pull my motion.
I'll make a motion that we add the moratorium on solar applications until January 1st, 2023.
Okay, there's a motion.
Second.
Made by Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Gay. Discussion.
Well,
Can I make a comment?
No,
Sure.
you're leaving, no, you get
Yeah.
nothing.
You're leaving.
Yeah, we'll talk
Nothing.
about that in a second.
It's a short time.
I just want to say something on moratoriums in general.
No.
I've been involved in several. This is the first one I've ever been involved in under, well, I'll say county side. I'll just say this. There's nothing in the Kentucky state, I'm not an attorney, y'all know that, I'm a planner, but I've been involved in several moratoriums related to zoning regulations. And that's the key is there's federal cases out there that say governments can do moratoriums in lieu of adopting new regulations. There's also some verbiage, and I don't know how accurate it is, that
Hey,
these
Steve,
moratoriums can't go past
without-
12 months.
Without our legal attorney
Yeah.
here, I'm asking you to hold off on
Well,
kind of any discussion because I'd like to refer back to him. 'Cause
Well, I know, I just want to make a comment on the 12 months is, the 12 months is the key, that I've had other cities tell me we can't go past 12 months.
Yeah.
That's just that.
Okay.
So you're extending it. But on the other side, I was told the cities do it somehow under different rules than counties do them. And that's the only thing on the moratoriums that's confusing to me on how you enact them because there's nothing in our state law. It's all federal case law.
Well,
So you may want Chris to
we can get him
explore
to
that.
research and come back and amend the date based on what the legal.
And what I guess I'm saying, you guys have now added, it's extended, what I guess I'm getting at, is that 12 months or is that a 6, and they're all just new moratoriums?
We haven't gone
Yeah.
past 12 months. This,
That's
this
what I
will
was
not be
getting,
past 12
that's what I was
months.
just making sure.
We did this, I think, mid-January. is when did
We
it.
got in trouble in 2 situations on the sign ordinance in Bowling Green. We were trying to make, let's say, a 3-year moratorium, or to the comprehensive plan was rewritten moratorium, which was really not an end date. And we were told 12-month increments, that's it. And that was through an attorney general's opinion. But the problem is, we were trying to change the sign ordinance, it just kept dragging on and on and on. Turned in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And we were trying to keep moratoriums underneath us in 6-month increments or 12 months. And then we just, eventually was like, we can't keep extending those moratoriums. So that's one thing I was just gonna say to you guys, maybe want to talk to Chris on how long you can get there. At some point, is this 1 moratorium or is it 3?
Yeah. Well, this is more of a citizen-led moratorium at this point.
It's,
With
but
the amount of, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
there's gotta be regulations that are in drafting process. That's the basis of doing, where you can't just issue a moratorium because we don't wanna have that zoning ordinance in effect today. There has to be regulations or new laws that are coming our way that is the reason why we paused the laws, because we don't want things to come in like rewrite the new sign ordinance.
I think there's a whole lot of societal or cultural change going on in
To that
the
draft.
review process at the regional and national level that we need to see how it shakes out once PGAM
Right.
reinstitutes their processes and procedures.
And you have a draft ordinance recommendation that's right there for you
Right.
guys to take it in any direction.
even the technology is moving as we
Sure.
sit here and speak. I mean, there was confusion in at least one of the 2 forums that we went to in the past 6 weeks. And I think that's why, if technology changes, then the regs will likely change, and we could be voting on something that does not work to the advantage of our citizenry on both sides of the issue. So I think that's one of the reasons that we would go even beyond my recommendation of October and go to 1/1/23.
Okay.
It's a moving target. I really think this thing changes
Well,
almost daily.
the first moratorium started mid-December, right?
I thought it was
Last
January.
year. It was like December 15th of 2021. Because when we were told to get the regulation started before Christmas, then we met in January. So I think the first moratorium was somewhere around December 15th.
Y'all had
2021.
3 meetings with P&Z to talk about the ordinance.
January,
and
February,
then-
March
and
of
then it came
2022,
out.
but you all gave us the directive in December of 21 and enacted the first.
So I can
moratorium.
amend mine to 12/1/2022 if it
Would that fit
makes it.
within
I'm just saying,
your
I
concern?
don't know if it's 12 months or 3 moratoriums. That's just the question that hit my head. Are we doing new moratoriums each time, or are we extending one and it's still some period?
Well, I agree with what you
That's a
said
Chris
about
question.
having the attorney
That's a Chris question.
evaluate, because I really think we're probably gonna need to extend it again, and if we need to make this one moratorium a 12-month moratorium, then we probably need to think about that, because I would almost like to see us get past the next legislative session, just to see
'Cause
what
they all
the
have
state is going to
You
do.
know they're gonna bring some laws up. They had 2 on the books they didn't get through the House and the Senate.
Exactly.
I know, so I almost would like to see us extend it to then, and that's where I think we need to check with Chris, and if we've canceled our other
Yeah,
moratorium
that's what
by
I
our
was gonna say.
previous
Yeah.
motion, then maybe this is a new
Starts over.
12-month moratorium.
Steve, does the 12/1 that Magistrate Cullen just recommended?
That's why, it's kind of why I didn't want it brought up, because now
I
you've
know.
created more questions.
Well, I get it,
than-
but that, that's my job as a planner, to make you all think through stuff. I've got myself in the bind on those moratoriums before, and again, we had legal counsel that said, this is how we need to enact it.
All right.
And they're
Well, I'm
tricky,
gonna stick with my
because then we
1/1/23.
know we're under 12 until Chris can
Consult
research
with
it.
Chris, and we can take it next court session if we need to.
We may,
Because
to the judge's point, there may need to be moratoriums for Jamie's for several months.
Yeah.
But if it turns out you can only do one 12-month, it may be then,
Get it.
if there's just a period, there's no, you're just
Get
not
it.
under moratorium.
And we have an external moratorium on this PMJ thing right now, so.
In a sense, that's right.
PJM.
All right, any more discussion?
No, please.
Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next, appointment of this, recommendation to appoint Miss Rebecca Kernodle, on June 28th, which is today's date,
So
to be
moved.
the chairman of the ethics committee that, Kay Shaw is, desiring to step aside.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve by Tom Ellis and seconded by Jamie Gay. Discussion on the recommendation.
Call for question.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and motion carries.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
you may do this automatically, but I would like to see a letter sent to her thanking her for her service.
Oh, to Kay, yes, absolutely.
To Kay, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Point of order, I was a little surprised with some things that were said, Mr. Hunter. What's going on?
Well, he comes up next.
coming
He's
up.
he's on
Oh, I
number
thought-
2.
Okay, all right.
I'm not saying.
Clark, of course.
Okay, next on my list is, the ARPA allocation. You see before you a memorandum of agreement, that is, there, and there's some more supportive documentation, attached or to it that gives you specific breakout of a obligation to provide funds to the city of Danville from ARPA, county ARPA, to rehabilitate the water and sewer system in Perryville and in Junction City, since they own the distribution of both. The agreement would be between the county and the city, as you have there what the scope of services be, and the statement in number 3 on the bottom of the first page. I would ask you if there's any questions, go ahead and discuss them now, but this is something that I really believe can help all the residents of both Junction City and Perryville, and I've had discussions with the mayors of each of those, and would it be received well, and their estimation is yes.
Well, Judge, since one is in my district, I would like to say that there would be great enthusiasm for this. It doesn't remedy all the situation that we've talked about so many times, even gone to the Attorney General over the 22 or 23-year-old contract that we have, but it helps 425 families, and it certainly helps the opportunities for economic development in both Perryville and Junction. So when we get to the point, if it's not now, I'm going to make a motion that we accept this.
What,
Second.
ready for discussion? Well, now, I guess that's a second.
Okay, there's a motion to accept the proposal for the ARPA allocations as presented and seconded by Magistrate Gay. The motion by Tom Ellis. Now let's discuss.
What's the amount?
It's right, you should have it. It's the amount is a total of 2.8 million paid out in different increments. It's in this right here is the breakout specifically for each of the functional items that they want to do in the Perryville and Junction City.
So, my question is going to be, since the city of Danville will not have to spend this money out of their own pocket to make these fixes, what was any negotiation done on any relief that they will give to the people of
Yeah, it's
Junction?
in section 3.
Okay.
You see that in section 3 on page 1 of the memorandum of agreement.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I've just got the letter up, so.
If the city were to fund this, this would be borne on the backs of the 425 residents of Perryville.
Do a rate increase.
Families.
Yeah, I understand that.
So it's not, it comes out of the Perryville water funds, so,
This is a one-time gift.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's,
I just
it's
wanna
similar
make
to what we
sure
did to
that's
Parksville,
clear.
but,
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure.
I want you to read
I-
all of section 3.
I apologize, I read the letter and I skipped number 3, but,
I'll give you time to read.
no, it's okay, I've got it already.
Phil, you got some questions?
No, I'm just, seems like there's a lot of things that we ought to do. County-wise, I should have just helped a couple, small towns that the city is controlling the water rights, and we're just more or less helping the city. Well, I look at it. You don't think we're gonna need this
I
money?
look at it helping the residents of these communities that have,
Several thousand residents in the total of the two
And
communities.
I guess it's the other side of the coin. I don't look at it, the city has a corrective action plan for Perryville that they have to comply with the state of Commonwealth of Kentucky on to upgrade certain parts of the water treatment facility and other stations down there.
Does the city doesn't receive any ARPA money?
They do, but,
and some of it is going towards this, I understand.
well, a big part of it's going to a Spears Lane water distribution, like going out toward Gwinnett Island. They got a second draw. They could do it earlier than we did, and their 2.2 is going for the Spears Lane.
Well, and they've also spent hundreds of thousands of dollars last year on the new water line that goes all the way to the new tower at Tuggle and beyond to Perryville, and will eventually tap into the water system of Washington County. So while I'm not happy with the contract that exists, that really is a penalty on sewage in Perryville, I have to admit that Danville has invested significantly all out to our border with Washington County.
And the original intent of the ARPA money was to fund projects like
For
this.
infrastructure.
It was for infrastructure, it's generally, and we got, we got notification later on that we could offset losses and put it in our general fund, but we'd already made commitments, so.
And this is a long-needed situation.
And I mean, they are smaller communities, but they're smaller communities with a lot of opportunity if we're talking about growth in our county.
Phil, this goes back to the days, the effort of Judge Wilder to be trying to get water through the whole county. And it was done, and some of it because of Mother Nature and other reasons needs to be redone in some respects. And this is to make good water for as many people as possible, safe water.
Well, you know, the corrective action plan down in Perryville is significant, and they've got to fix that if we don't do this. That like Julie or somebody said that the residents of Perryville, that a rate increase would be bore on their backs to no fault just because it hadn't been done for 30 years plus. Okay?
Somebody's gotta pay the bill.
Yeah. And,
Well, if we don't update this and make it correct for our people in Junction and Perryville, it will never get done for either one of these towns. You know, it's
think
time
you're
for
right.
us to start helping, you know, our neighbors.
I think you're right. We did it in Parksville, and that served, what, 2,000 homes in their district, water district. And in Perryville, it's gonna service about 500 homes, in Junction about 1,000, roughly. So we are making a huge difference on the water distribution in the county. Not to forget the part about on Glen Island Road out there with Lake Village Water District, what we've done to improve their low-pressure sewer system out there.
I mean, you know, it could give a break for the people in Junction and Perryville on their bills every month.
Well, it says it right there in
Yeah,
number 3.
plus, it's gonna lock it in for so many years before it goes back up
Exactly.
again. So, you know, it's something that, and people look at stuff like that, when they're wanting to move to an area or build a house, whatever. If you have something that's got good structure to it, then they're gonna move, they're gonna build.
And I think we've had some discussions on, this is not the first time this court's heard about this.
No.
We've had discussions on it in the past as part of the overall arching, concept to invest ARPA funds into the county and the infrastructure development piece, so. We have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion on it?
Have we had a second?
Yes.
Okay.
And, you get the motion in a second? Okay. Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries, thank you. All right, now we're up to the bylaws. The bylaws, as I understand it, are on a proposal by EDP to establish bylaws for the Boyle County Development Corporation. I am of the opinion initially going through this, to me, there seems to be a lot of extra stuff in here that we don't, that not really relates to the corporation founding.
Word you're looking for is crap, sir.
Yeah, okay, that.
I'll say.
The city, I think, voted to extend review by about a week from their comments on this last night. I think I would like to take the stance, and John, you and whoever else watched this last night that was there, I'd like to take the stance so we don't get ahead of ourselves, so to speak, to see what the comments are from the city to review the overall rewrite of the bylaws.
I agree. They've been asked by EDP to review, as we were asked to review. So we should listen to what they have to say, their input. It could be something that maybe we missed it, but you all did a great job of putting it together. So I'm sure it'll be well covered. But it's just the process that we need to travel down in order that we do this the right way and make it the best way, because it's been a difficult road since January that we've been traveling.
Absolutely.
And everybody should have a chance to put all the, this is government getting more involved in economic development than I've ever seen it get before. So it's new ground that we're plowing, and we need to go slowly and do it right the first time.
Well, I know there's been different trains of thought on that, government being more involved than ever before. But I can tell you, everybody that I've talked to across the state, and as Julie will know, that I've talked to several different authorities and corporations already existing across the state, and some very well-traveled economic development mentors. We're headed down down the right path with that
Right.
involvement. There's no doubt about it. And so I feel strongly that I would like to see what the city's comments are, and then we can run it up the flagpole from there.
Every community's different. Each community
They
has
are.
assets, liabilities. We're different than other communities, but the structure brings those differences out, and we're able to handle if the structure's right.
Yeah. So is that enough discussion, or do we need to, we can table our review until we see more from the comments from the section, from the city? Any questions?
Sounds good.
I just,
Oh, no question.
I just wish the EDP leadership had put as much effort into actual economic development as they have trying to save their own butt. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, so there's no motion on the floor, it's just that we will review comments from the city later on. Okay, thank you for that. Now, not on your agendas, but a late ad that I would like to take privilege of throwing out there. We have an interested local party that is interested in an office space at Constitution Square, and given what we have done with EDP as the lease holder on Constitution Square, I need to kind of get a feel for the court's direction, and I'll just throw it out there that the GABBF would like to have an office space there in the adjacent to the Craddock Conference Center, in there where Mimi Becker is. There's some office space in there that is not being utilized, and they don't need much. We haven't even walked over and looked at it or talked about it. But what is the court's thoughts on?
Judge is one of the 2 appointees by you to oversee the birthplace of Kentucky, as it's called, the Constitution Square. My thought, practicing law without a license, is that with our action in the previous meeting, any constraints that we might have thought we had with respect to our granting the brass band folks some space, I think it falls back to us, and maybe Chris can clarify that later. But look at the success that brass band had this past early in the month. It was just extraordinary. After COVID, you had no idea how it would go over, but it was just spectacular for the community. People in from not only across the nation, but a few of them around the world. And I think that it's like the Kentucky Derby. They start planning for the next Kentucky Derby the day after the roses are placed on the winning horse. And we're already in a couple of weeks here, and I think the sooner that we could grant this request of Brass Band Festival to have some space over there, which is now not underutilized, it's not utilized at all, then I would certainly make the motion that we do this.
Well, I feel more comfortable based on the fact that, and I'd like to see this happen also. I'd feel more comfortable if we had Chris Herron's viewpoint on the contract as it stands, given what we have done with EDP and by official transmittal.
They still have a lease. We may have pulled from the partnership, but they still have a lease. And so we can't jump the gun on anything.
I don't think we can either.
But to answer your question, and cliff notes for Tom, we are interested in possibly leasing to them if we're allowed to. I think
There's nobody in
over
there.
on this side, it wouldn't hurt. We've talked about utilizing that space better. And so if we can give them a place, or not give them a place, but if they can have a place, whatever, then let's do it.
Well,
I'm good with that too.
I would
think
recommend that we consider getting a review of the lease and our what we can and can't do regarding that from Chris, and then if we can talk with EDP about getting that space in one room there in the they call that the schoolhouse, I believe, where the Craddock Conference Center is, and if we can do that, and just. I'm not saying that we have to do it today, but if you tell me to kind of work the issue with Herron and the EDP, then I'll be glad to do it.
I think that's where we need to go.
I
Sounds
think you
good.
gotta consider some other discussions about Constitution Square. Will play a hand in any length of time.
Yes, I understand what
You
you're saying.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's part of it. Yeah, I'm very much for it, but there's considerations out there that have to be discussed.
So with the court's pleasure, that's what we'll do. In interim, and maybe have something we can share with you about next court session.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Tom's motion dies for lack
All right, next is Mr. Steve Hunter.
We've already heard from him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm done.
How short can Steve be?
Hey, I'm finished.
You were short last night.
Yeah, I was.
Well, you were.
I want to go home. So, I'm getting paid right now, so I'll stick around anyway. So, give you a quick planning commission update and end with some other news, but just start with some financial stuff real quick. For the fourth quarter here, it's slow right now in our world. Here it's sun shining, it's June. A year ago, 2 years ago, this is when people are pulling permits, phones ringing off the hook, but we literally are flat. About as flat as you get right now. Rusty's getting a lot of permits still coming in, single family, but on the commercial, multifamily, industrial side, we've done zero. And just to give you some indication, the month of June here, we've not made a single deposit. That's never happened in the 5 years I've been here. We've not gone to the bank once. No money's come in the office the whole month. For the whole quarter, we've only done 4 firework tents and some storage buildings on Kim down by Walmart. That's all the construction that has come through our office for this quarter. That's April, May, and June. We got some projects coming forward. We'll talk about 5-star project here real quick in just a second. Some more Rick House related stuff. But, you know, our focus in construction is pretty much multifamily, and there's been zero of that except some fourplexes in Junction. We've done no multifamily actually in the 5 years I've been here anywhere at all. And then the commercial's slow. You can count on one hand what's happening, you drive around the city. We've got some renovations happening for some restaurants, but when you look at new construction, storage buildings, the Taco Tico.
I thought we were getting some multi-family out over by the new Asuka.
They were approved, but everything's just stalled.
Stopped. Makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's economy, interest rates, all commercial
Supply
credit, all
chain.
those things together, supply chain, COVID. But yeah, we haven't had anybody come in and pull any permits of any kind.
What's the holdup on the restaurants that's supposed to be going in next to Dairy Queen?
That's gonna be a Taco Tico. There's 2 gas lines that run through there.
Right.
And Kinder Morgan has to be on site when they do any excavation work. So they've started some preliminary excavation, but there's just a coordinated effort with the contractor and the gas company to move that site forward. The developer might be just slowing down due to some of the issues with supply chain and cost of materials.
Yeah.
It's just not a good time to build buildings right now or do major construction projects. I think the people that are already moving forward kind of have to finish them, and others have told me they're just not going to start them right now.
That large gas line that runs through there.
There's 2.
That's not gonna be a problem, but
No, they've already, everything up through there, Dairy Queen, McDonald's, are all straddling 2 gas lines already. And the old restaurant was there was also, so it's gonna sit in the same footprint between those 2 gas lines. That'll be a Taco Tico, and it'll face Lowe's, and there'll be 2 rentable suites, or maybe 1. It'll look a lot like the AT&T store to some degree, just turned sideways.
This is the land of King Buffet?
King Buffet, yeah. So that's a project that we've approved but has not started. And then we've done some storage buildings, some Rick houses.
What's going on in front of Ace Hardware?
That's a car wash.
That's what I heard.
That's a car wash.
What beside the lot beside it?
And they've leased it too. So that's actually a lease situation. They're building a car wash on leased property.
Oh, okay.
And so they'll actually take up both of those lots, and it'll be a car wash, and that'll be their staging area,
Right.
their vacuum area, all that kind of stuff, right next to the Early Bird restaurant. So that's a project that's already approved, and one again, they've already started pouring the footer, so they want to
They've
get
got
it
the
done.
concrete walls up.
The concrete walls are up, so.
Yeah.
Steve, was a traffic study done on that particular location and footprint?
It's too small.
Small impact on it?
Yeah, traffic studies are dictated by trip generation, and a car wash doesn't generate enough trips to trigger a traffic study. It'd be way too low.
Plus you got a light there anyway, so.
Yeah, and there's a traffic light, and their access points are gonna be internal into there won't be any access points out onto the Houstonville Road.
You
All those
mean
will be
there's no
closed off.
statistics on the traffic flow on Houstonville Road at all?
No
The city
requirement.
looked at the permit, but they're gonna close off all their access points. You'll have to go in the light, go around and come into the site from the shopping
Instead
center.
of going like going to Ace Hardware and come.
Well, I understand that. I understand that there's no direct drive-in off of.
But the stage, to the judge's point, there'll be more stacking at the light, there'll be more conflict points, more volume coming through the traffic light that affects, all four. But the city looked at the permit and they didn't require any traffic related
Did the state signed off on
The
it?
state doesn't sign off on the permits, they just they would request a traffic study if needed, and they very rarely ask for traffic studies. Again, there's already traffic.
Common sense makes me think it's gonna be
Yeah.
a potential problem.
Car washes, believe it or not, aren't high trip generators. Believe it or not, they're seasonal to some degree. You see a volume, and maybe the other car washes think that's a lot of cars, but it's nothing like what a drive-through fast food does, or a bank back in the day.
Plus we
or
got
something
6 or 7 in Danville, so.
Yeah, and plus there's a whole bunch of car washes, right?
Steve, anything going on across the road from Grover, they clean that up?
I talked to CJ May last week, and they just cleaned it up to keep marketing the product. He made the exact same comment Jason just said. Right now is not a time they're looking at expanding any major projects. They're working in the Hamburg area. I think he's working on trying to bring a Publix to the Lexington area.
Right.
CJ's involved in a lot of different stuff, and at this point he has no projects pending in Danville at this point. So he's just cleaning it up just to make it look good. Get a lot of calls about the KFC lot every single day. Someone asks me where Chick-fil-A's going in there, where Chick-fil-A's going.
Well,
I can tell everyone, no one from Chick-fil-A has contacted us ever, except to get that tent that they have, or their temporary food truck over by AT&T.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever talked to Chick-fil-A. They've never talked to me about a building site. Doesn't mean one may not be here someday, but
Let's start the rumor it's gonna be a White Castle.
Yeah.
could be. Funny enough, I've never seen a Chick-fil-A or McDonald's renovate an existing building. If anything, they would always build new
Right.
demo.
Right.
Yeah.
That site is small. That KFC lot is actually a pretty small lot when you get up there and look at what a typical fast food would want for staging. They're more in the 2-acre range.
Yeah.
That's a small lot. So I don't know who owns it or what's happening there, but just a lot of rumors flying around. But again, that just tells us where our construction is right now. And let me talk about 2 projects though that are kind of interesting. We call these major subdivision projects. So these properties are already zoned, and this is where we're building new streets, and then someone's cutting off lots. One of them is Jody Sharp, the Colonial Heights Candlewood zone change. Was kind of controversial, and the Planning Commission passed it and the city overturned it. Mr. Sharp has gone ahead and decided to just plat a portion of that property and develop it as its current zoning, which is R1A. He was trying to get a smaller single lot option, and so he's created 18 lots that'll come off Ridgeview and just extend the street down and create 18 lots to develop and just stop the street in the field, basically. And so that will involve a new street and have 18 new homes that'll go there. And he's calling it Colonial Heights Phase 2. So that's a new street project. The other one relates to a 5-star project. It's official now. We couldn't say anything for several months. But Nancy Davis cut off a 3-acre lot on the corner of Summit in the bypass next to Stuart Powell. And we knew kind of what was happening there, but Newcomb Oil didn't want to say anything for a long time until they worked out some contractual things. And then the Planning Commission approved the site plan last Wednesday, and it was labeled 5-star on the drawing. So that'll be a new 5-star convenience store that'll go right on 3 acres, right next to Stuart Powell. But the reason it's a major subdivision plat is because they're also building a street to the backside of that, off Summit, and it'll crisscross eventually maybe all the way over to Davco Drive. But they're just building a portion of that street now, and Nancy Davis will be responsible to build that street. Now, to some points about traffic, that was a discussion in the technical review about that intersection. We've got a frontage road there on Thoroughbred. You're going to have a gas station that wants 4 access points all down the side of one side of their property, and in the rear you've got an intersection with no light, 4-lane bypass. So there was a lot of discussion about traffic. Traffic study wasn't required from the city side or the state on that either, but there was discussion how that site is gonna mimic a lot like the Starbucks Kroger situation,
I
with
was
the
just gonna
frontage
bring
road
that
coming
up.
in and driveway cuts into a busy business and everyone's trying to get out on the bypass. So there was some discussion with Five Star on how we locate those access points on Summit, and that Summit Drive need to be widened a little bit too, so
The
that,
city engineer was right in the thick of the Starbucks, and how that came down, and he's not been involved in this one?
he's been involved, and Newcomb Oil decided to shift one of the access points 28 feet to the west. So there'll be 3 access points on Summit Drive and 1 on this new street to the rear. So it's gonna be a little busy till it gets worked out, and everyone, you know, when you go into the Five Star now and you come off Denmark, that first access point, technically you're not supposed to turn into. It's really an exit. You're supposed to, you know, and then you go down to the other ones. Kinda gonna be a similar situation on what's the entrances, what's the exits, and
Then they got the arrow going the wrong way if it's an
Yeah.
exit. It's going in.
it's an exit. I think, isn't it?
I've been many times.
I thought the first one on the right is an exit. It's an
Go
entrance, is
look
it
at
right
the
in?
arrow. The arrow's coming out.
Well, maybe they're going the opposite
Hard to
way.
exit, they're so close to the light.
Well, that's gonna be the issue where we're talking about at the intersection
People
too.
just don't like it.
Their focus was interesting. They brought up some stuff we never heard from convenience stores about how they want to get their traffic in to make as little movements as possible into those gas canopies. The goal is to bring someone straight in, not bring them in the parking lot and doing different things through the lot. So it's an interesting discussion with them. They're a good company and they'll build a good product there, as you guys know. They remarkably
You got a map where
efficient.
they're going?
What's that?
Do you have a map with you where they're going?
It's right on the corner of right on the corner of Summit.
Right next to.
Stuart Powell, right beside it.
Literally.
3 acres right on the corner.
They changed the name, because,
It's Ingleside is wrong on Google. It's Summit Drive.
okay.
Yeah, Ingleside is not an accurate name.
Just want to make that determination so people know.
Google's got a lot of mistakes on it there.
Well,
So
you look at several of the maps, they don't list Summit, so.
yeah, Summit is the official name on
3 acres.
3 acres. Yeah, and a new street to the rear. So with that, real quick, I'll finish with the financial. So we're closing out our fiscal year, as you guys are, and even though the months have been slow in this quarter, we hit our revenue target. We're gonna come in about 104% of our targeted revenue, so we're right on line with our money for the fiscal year. And our expenditures are gonna be around 92–93%. So we're about $14,000 better than we thought in our budget estimation, and we're gonna carry over about $80,000. So, and positive in the first part of the fiscal year, last summer, we had more construction projects. The rick houses are a big boom for us when they come in and pull permits. They're big money, so. And with that, I'll get on to some staff-related items here, and the judge already alluded to it. I have turned in my resignation as planning director. I turned it into the Planning Commission Personnel Committee the 1st of June, so it's been in the works for a while. And before I jump in here and just tell you how we're going to handle some recruitment, I thought just real quick, I know some people have been questioning me, why are you leaving, what's going on, all that kind of stuff. I just thought I'd give you a quick little history on some things maybe you never heard. For me, I do kind of take this planning job and I look at it a little differently than other people do maybe. I've done this my whole career. That's why I went to school to be as a planner. But way back before that, literally y'all probably know, I lived in 9 cities in the first 12 years of my life. So I went to 9 schools, and you know, in my first 12 years, 9 different schools. My mom was a single mom, had me young, never met my dad. Just move, new schools. But what's weird about that, it sounds negative, but what's funny is I learned just to always go into new towns. It's just something that interests me. When I got into planning in school, I would have never guessed that one of the things that my hobby is just dissecting towns. Literally going places and just where you guys may go in and see something. I go to a town and I can say, hey, they have a cool landscape ordinance. I can just see things, or hey, they don't have a sidewalk ordinance, or those are 3-foot sidewalks, and this town's got 5-foot sidewalks. I go to cities and I just see things that interest me, and it's kind of been my passion. And I don't think y'all probably realize, but when I took this job, it's one of the things that interests me is how I've been in Bowling Green a long time. I was there most of my life. And the reason, you know, at some point, Bowling Green was growing so fast, you know, the job's just intense. You don't understand how intense it is being the planning director at Bowling Green when you just got thousands of projects happening. So the years just clicked off. You look up, it's 15 years. You go, wow. And at some point I thought, hey, I'd like to do something different. And then this job came open, and I thought, I've never worked in a small town. And a lot of you guys are from here, grew up here, but you can imagine someone who's not from here, come here. I had to learn everything, every county road, every building, who people are, processes, ordinances, laws. That's fun. I mean, that's the stuff I like. It was a challenge coming out, just dissect the whole county from ground zero. And it's something that made me kind of think back to, wow, this is what I like. I drive around now and I go to different towns and I'm like, you know, I was in Prestonsburg not too long ago. I just see things from a planner's perspective. I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool, and let's look at this. Why they put the buildings that way, that kind of stuff. So 5 years has rolled through. I started August 1/17. We've done a lot of things here, and there's nothing negative to say. This has been great, but an opportunity came up in Versailles, Woodford County, and it just hit me when I saw the job opening. As a planner, I thought, this is cool. This is something I'm definitely interested in. If you guys know a lot about planning, Woodford rises to the top in the state for a lot of different reasons. They got a real complicated process. They've got way more boards than we have here. I'll have more responsibilities. They just do planning differently. They're hooked onto Lexington, if you think about that. They got an interstate, a parkway, 60 runs right into Fayette County. There's just a lot, river on one side. When I saw it, I thought, wow, this is the best planning job in the state, in my opinion. And I would have never guessed I'd have had an opportunity to take such a complicated job in a good way. And so when I saw it, I thought this is a huge risk for me because I could fail at this job. I've never thought, this job's kind of the same job, but that is a very unique process that there's only one I've ever seen in the whole state. Their processes are layered, their boards are different. There's pre-boards before a board, and they just do things a little differently, and I've got a lot to learn. On top of it, I've got to learn an entire county, every single road, who's who in fiscal courts and commissions. So when the job opening happened, I thought, wow, I've got to go for this. I could retire right now, but why not just keep doing this for a few more years? And so I just took it. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting opportunity as a planner. I'm a little sad about leaving here, but I don't have to leave, actually. I'm going to continue to live in Lincoln County and just drive. Like thousands of people drive to Frankfurt every day. I guess I'll just cruise up 127 and shoot into Versailles pretty quick. So I'm pretty excited about it. I start August 1, and but I did resign the position of the Planning Commission. And real quick, I'll tell you some things that they put into play that you guys need to know about. My last day is going to be the 22nd of July. And I start my new job August 1. And the Personnel Committee is 3 planning commissioners, which is the chair, Jeff Baird, the vice chair, Jim Boyd, and Steve Griffin is the 3rd member of the Personnel Committee. They decided to add 2 at-large members to the search committee, which will be Sally Davenport and Tom Ruby. So that puts 5 of the 10 planning commissioners on the director search committee. And that is already underway. Our attorney will be the point person for all the resumes, interview process. Our attorney will be kind of handle everything. The resumes won't come into the office. They'll go to Henry and Bruce Smith. And then the search committee will take it from there. We've already put ads on Kentucky League of Cities, CAECO, American Planning Association, Ohio, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and Indeed. And the resumes are already rolling in, I think, to the search committee. The challenge we've got is I only really have an administrative assistant, as you all know, in the office, and she's great. She's been there longer than I've been here in this position, but it's going to be tough on her by herself, and there's just some things she can't do. I mean, there's just some processes that's never been in her job description nor would be comfortable to her. So the Planning Commission decided to kind of make co-interim directors, and they're not going to take any pay, but 2 of the planning commissioners are just going to assume some day-to-day operational roles. Jeff Baird will come in and just deal with process stuff related to our car and insurance and copier leases and whatever. Terry Mann, our budget chair, will take over paying the bills, getting the checks, working with our accounting firm, getting the audit done, that kind of stuff. And then Lisa Bowman, our staff, will try to continue to process plats and site plans and zone change applications, sign permits, historic preservation related reviews, all those kind of things we have to do. She's going to try to do those by herself for hopefully a short period. I think that's the goal. And then we're gonna give her a little pay adjustment, the planning commission decided during that interim. So that's everything I have, except to tell you guys I really wanna thank you personally as the court. You guys have been super accommodating for me, supportive personally, financially. You guys have supported P&Z the whole time. Phil and I talked probably before I even started the job. I reached out, talked to him on the phone. John, I think we talked my first day. I came in and made sure you guys knew who I was and what I need to do. But I hope you do appreciate that. I don't feel like I'm leaving. I just feel like I'm taking this planning thing I've done my whole career and just taking it to the next level. And I don't anticipate I'm going to stop. I don't know how long I'll work the next job, but for some reason, it just hit me like I got to keep trying these different things, or unfortunately, things kind of could get stale in this kind of job, especially when we really ground to a halt construction-wise. There's just not a whole lot happening. So I'm surprised I stayed 15 years in Bowling Green. I guess I just head down and things happening. You look and go, wow, I just did 15 years.
Just help us.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just help us find somebody DNA connected to you. I can't count the numbers of evenings and Saturdays, 45-minute conversation with Steve, and I know others here have that same experience. So
I can count.
Yeah. I agree, and I appreciate all you've done, and I do want to say, being from Versailles, and you're not going to be able to get away from us gay boys, because I have two brothers over there that are actively involved in the community, so that'll be your first points of contact.
It's very strange.
Not to mention
and I also in retirement myself, I'll be following you over there, because I'm going to start managing some of our properties in Versailles, so we'll have to carpool.
It's interesting, Midway's a little different, and they've got 4 ag districts. They've got a 30-acre district. You have to need 30. I mean, they don't cut ones over there. It's 30s or some other things. Comprehensive plan, I've read it 3 times. I'm going, wow, this is a great one, but I got to figure all this out. That's what I've been doing tonight, just reading, and then I got to learn all these streets and roads. Once I can visualize, funny enough, once I can visualize something, I memorize streets, and once I can figure all those out, and I sort of know, I kind of think of them like a clock, then I can learn the county. It took me about 2 years, y'all know, to figure out all these roads in Boyle County, and by heart. So that's part of the job. So I appreciate it. And
Can we do a picture?
With the court?
Picture?
Yeah, let's do a picture with.
Tom wore a tie, went well.
Well, I didn't. No, I
Jamie wore
appreciate that.
shorts.
I wore shorts.
It's always, they're gonna take your own
Normally,
money, but-
aren't I supposed to be holding a big check or something?
You may want to rethink your decision now, Jamie's relatives are over there.
I know, right? I got one brother moving back. He's coming home. He's been in Atlanta. He's retiring and moving home.
Jamie don't ever cause in trouble.
Yeah, now you're rethinking
Well,
that.
Yeah, I know.
But what about Phil's brother, the attorney?
I'm
Let's go right here, so that way Judge doesn't have to go very far.
The judge isn't feeling good here, so.
Yeah, come on, Ronnie. Where are we going?
Right there, right there.
Stand here in front of our
Watch
bull
behind you,
pen.
Julie.
Yeah, let Julie sit right here.
Let me get around y'all. All right.
Stand in the back here. Ronnie, get over here. in
This
front
be
of
a
me.
good picture for you.
I guess I don't have a digital resume. Sure.
Here, stand right here.
Yeah, right here would be perfect. That's hard.
What? Can't get Ronnie in.
No, thank you.
Let's get close, I'll get close.
We can turn sideways. but-
I'm going back.
Oh, that's really good. Okay, now I
Gotta
can
get Jason.
Hold on, here I am.
Jason, you Jason.
No, you're fine. You're hiding my gut.
Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
All
Thank
right.
you guys. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Steve,
Appreciate it.
Thank
I'll
you,
see
yeah.
you over there.
How's
You
luck?
will,
So
you will.
can put my hand up like that.
I'll be here if you need something. Call me.
Your son will be working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lost my piece of paper. Thank you, Ron.
It's over here.
See you.
All right. Yeah, you've already met Joe, haven't you, Steve?
Yeah, I have.
He came over for the.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's gonna be fun, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
But no, they like to take care of they like to protect their land over there, take care of their horse farms.
That's a little different
Beautiful
philosophy
country.
over there.
It's beautiful over there.
I get the historic
Sales.
preservation board is in my office too. So
I like their sales.
We're live on YouTube, right? I pushed you back.
Nice town.
Now we'll, have a picture made of that.
All right.
Steve, we're gonna have a picture made, put it on wall so it's so dark saying.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, John, you're up next.
Well, and I appreciate Missy's help in informing you all of what we, all of us around this table are concerned about the drug issues across the nation, I know, and the effect that they have on each family, each individual. So I can't say it any better than probably the headline. Record number of Kentuckians died from drug overdoses in 21, new report shows. It says it all. And you think about how this affects each person. Why? Why? What in their life has made them travel this route? I don't know. I've never been down this road. I can't explain, but it does, and it's to the negative. My years of working with ASAP, which is a wonderful group, deal with this. We talk about this every month. They have made some suggestions for the drug money. They deal in this world. They know it better than any of us. So when that money comes, I hope we'll put it to the wisest use that we possibly can. Because I don't think this country can be the best that it can be if we don't solve this problem that affects so many, in so many ways. Read the article if you would, please. Missy, thank you for putting it in the packet. Read it, and then your heart will guide you from there. Thank you,
Okay. John, do you feel like there's something more this court can do to help improve on the situation?
I think the ASAP folks do a wonderful job, and they all deal in different areas. I think if you know somebody that needs help, reach out to Kathy, who does a tremendous job for very little pay. And her heart is so much in the right place. There's hope and help out there with different agencies. Reach out and she can kind of guide you through the path.
We got to get Shepherd's House out here more often. This is one of the many bad sides of COVID is that we kind of lost being able to have those updates constantly from several people coming in, and Roger and Shepherd's House is one of them. You know, when we first started, they were here all the time.
I know there's some discussions afoot and nothing extremely concrete at this point, but there is discussions afoot, and Magistrate Short knows about this, regarding transitional emergency housing that will help make a positive step forward in regard to dealing with some of these issues. And what Mike Rogers has in store for us here in just a little bit will help extend our capability of outreach in this area too.
You know, this changes, and this money that's coming in was something that we didn't know when it was going to come. We knew it felt like it would come. But we have to really study this because this is probably a one-time
There's three
pot of
things
money.
that really contribute to this, John, like you had told me, we were talking about it. You know, you've got mental health, you've got homelessness, and also you've got domestic violence. Domestic violence sometimes is the issue for continuing to use drugs. And those are things that have to be addressed if overdoses are going to get better.
And the common thread among that, in this personal opinion, is drugs.
Yeah.
I think they
It is.
push people to do these types of
They do.
things. We can't be what we can be if we don't solve the drug issue. That's a personal opinion.
And I read an article the other day, I don't know if you guys saw it on Facebook, but someone had picked a dollar bill up.
Oh, yes.
And it had fentanyl inside the dollar
Yeah.
bill. fentanyl's becoming a large problem, even here in Danville, Kentucky.
Unfortunately, once again, a personal opinion, I think this plays a hand in people feeling that nobody cares. It plays a part, and eventually, I think has to do sometimes with some of the issues with our school shootings.
John, you think the majority of these people that are dying from overdoses are homeless people?
I don't think so.
No?
No, not majority.
No. Some of them, anymore, I think a fair amount of them is from not knowing what they're taking because they're putting drugs into different forms of things that we eat, so.
What leads up to it?
Overdose deaths do not discriminate. They come in all socioeconomic categories, all forms.
There's been a story going around about a 17-year-old boy out in California. Comes from a nice upper class family, right in San Francisco, and he bought a pill off of somebody on Snapchat, one of the social media apps. He thought he was getting Percocet, but it was actually fentanyl is what he got, and he died. So.
Some of this I think comes from intimidation of one peer to another peer. Plays a part in someone feeling nobody cares. It's got to be a terrible feeling.
It's pure evil. Unfortunately, this year, my daughter and I have a personal connection to someone that died due to an overdose, and it's mental health, but it's also just evil that somebody would, just look to poison and kill people.
Well, and it's money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Root of
people
all evil.
are getting rich off of selling drugs, and I hate to say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's happening as early as 5th graders,
Yeah.
getting them addicted.
But this also goes back to, you brought up about the dollar bill, what our first responders go through every day.
Every day.
Our EMS, our firefighters, our police, they, a lot of times they'll come into a room and there's been, something in the air that they'll breathe in. I mean, it's it's scary for everyone around, so.
All right, well, it's just something we need to keep out in front of us, and when we have the opportunities, like what Mike's gonna talk about here in a bit, those are things that we can do as a governmental service to do the most we can. I really believe that the opioid settlement that we receive will be substantial to be able to put a lot of money back into this community to fight against those addictions in some way, shape, or form.
I would love to see if in somewhere in there that can help also fund SROs and drug dogs in our schools.
Yeah.
I think that's an area we should explore.
I agree.
To see if that can be something we can utilize.
Well, as the old saying goes, when you see something, say something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We just gotta all be alert.
I've been reserving this, but to see something, say something doesn't always work. We recently had a plumber who was with us, I guess a total of 9 or 10 days. And he was one of the most talented, certified plumbers I've ever seen in my life. And come to find out, he's probably not gonna make it for another couple of years because he is so horrifically addicted to whatever he takes. And he was a great employee for the employer here in the county, and you can't always recognize what's going on because there was never an indication in all those days that we were together that he had a problem, and all of a sudden it's manifested. So we can try our best, but
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that, John. Jason?
Can one more thing. Kathy and ASAP meet the last Friday of the month, just about every month. Every now and then it gets a little different. Come to one of their meetings and listen and get a feel for what people can do to help when you see somebody needing help. I'm sorry to jump in, but you all are all invited. You all are all invited. So,
Yep.
8:30.
down at the health department.
Well, they've been.
Oh, no, they
meeting-
moved out to
They moved out,
extension offices on
they moved
General
out
Mills.
because of COVID and the closeness,
Yeah.
the size of the room. I don't know if they'll move back or not, but right now, it's,
That brings up another question. Homeless shelter, been a meeting this past week, and Judge, I don't think the magistrate was invited, were they?
You talking about my church?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Magistrate was invited.
Some of them was, I know it was.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't do the inviting, so I don't know. I can't address it.
I didn't get no invitation. I was there, but I didn't get an invitation. You get an invitation, Tom?
Not that I know of.
Do you know anything about it? John, did you?
no,
I mean, I didn't do the invitations, but
Well, you go to church and you was doing the cooking and everything else. You
Oh,
had
I-
breakfast, real good breakfast.
we were on.
I went, I smelled the food and I went in.
Oh, that's why you didn't smell the food.
I think you wasn't you invited to it? And I know the judge was. I didn't know who all they called. I thought they said they called Tom and the rest, but
I was out.
if they'd asked me to call, I would have called everybody, but they didn't ask me, so.
Yeah, Brian Montgomery reached out, and I was out of town. So
All right, we're ready to move on to Jason's EDA discussion.
I'm actually going to
It won't
go
be
ahead.
the last meeting we're gonna have on that, cause
Yeah.
it will be.
Oh, well,
I'll make sure y'all invited, okay?
Make sure we get better communication on the times.
Yeah, well, I'll give you my pastor's number.
You got to call
I will.
Phil between nap times. That's what it is. I'm going to go ahead. I think I've kind of said my piece on EDA and EDP for right now, so we'll go ahead and hold this for when we get together on the bylaws.
All right.
Save some time. Steve took up so much.
Steve can do that now. A drop of a hat.
All right, see y'all.
All right.
I'm rolling out of here. On that note.
Mike, come on.
See, Steve.
he just changed his opinion.
Yeah. He's
I want my picture back.
so much more complicated, huh?
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Court. I want to give Amy just a second to talk about what you were just talking about. Her tongue is bleeding because she was over there biting it. So I want to give her, a minute to weigh in on what we were talking about.
She didn't get the invite either?
I don't know about that, but yeah, go ahead, Amy, and weigh in on what we were talking about, the overdose deaths.
Let me just, before Amy starts, I want to thank Amy, because she's very regular at the ASAP meetings and contributes a whole lot.
Well, if you don't remember, I'm Amy Longwell. I work for the Healing Community Study out of the University of Kentucky, and I will share with you, each community, there's 8 counties in our Wave 1, and Wave 1 is coming to a close Thursday, and then we add an additional 8 counties in. And the Boyle County Coalition, which, as most of you know, Kathy Miles, Roger Fox, they're huge parts of our work. But the Boyle County Coalition's kind of the rock star of the group. They're very engaged, and the other coordinators, they're kind of jealous because they always say I got the best coalition, and I do. But I will echo the work of ASAP, and it is so important. And so when you look at those overdose numbers, and I hear you all talking, I'm going to encourage each of you one thing. Before you start looking at what you can do, is that you try to understand what addiction is. And when you think about how are you going to solve this problem, if you don't really try to understand addiction, the problem will never be solved. And addiction is a disease. It is a real disease. And if you don't treat it as the health care issue that it is, then you won't help someone. And you can't get them into treatment if you're not treating the disease. There's a fabulous video out there on YouTube. It's called Addiction 101. It's about 7-8 years old, I think. I would encourage each of you to watch it. It's 22 minutes long. But what he talks about is truly, it was eye-opening for me, understanding the power of addiction. And just to give you a little tidbit of it, when you talk about there's scientific studies, and you deprive someone of food, they're only fed through their IVs. They get what they need to live. And then you deprive them of food for days. and then you bring in their favorite food and they smell it. The area lights up in your brain is like, you compare it to the size of a quarter. Okay, you do the same thing with someone's substance of choice, and it's the size of a baseball field. And so if you don't understand, you know, it is mental health, it is all those things, but truly understanding that addiction is a disease. And so I would just ask you all to follow that, and then however you choose to go, that you look at programs that are evidence-based. Follow the data and look at strategies and things you can do in Boyle County. I know here, ASAP will be focusing on continuing to distribute Narcan anywhere and everywhere you can. Increasing access to treatment, and treatment that is evidence-based. Programs that utilize evidence-based practices, and we have those in Boyle County, but what do we need to do to help them treat more people, and how do we get more people to them? And then last is improving safe prescribing and safe disposal, and I will tell you, Boyle County, we're doing really good on the safe disposal, not so good on the safe prescribing. We've got to improve prescribing practices across the country and right here in Boyle County too. One of the unique things about the outreach position through EMS is that it can do a bunch of that with one person at one time. You have the power to give someone naloxone that can prevent an overdose. You have a power to make a human connection that can link them to evidence-based treatment, and the follow-up and the retention to keep them there. So I would just, so that's my plea, is that we continue to work on this program because it is evidence-based and we know that it'll work. I'm happy to answer questions or do whatever Mike tells me to do.
I hear you say safe prescribing. Can you elaborate on that, please?
It's, you know, I can go, this is kind of a soapbox of mine. You go to the doctor, you do not need a pain medication for aches and pains. And in the United States, we dispense more pain medication per person than, like, it's hundreds of more than the country that falls right underneath us.
I mean, I know where you're going with this.
And it's cheap.
I understand, but we also have to let doctors be doctors. They went to school to be doctors. They have to be held accountable for their prescribing, and they are held accountable per OIG. I mean, they are held accountable, very much so. So I, in turn, don't agree with telling a physician how to treat his patient. If he decides that that patient needs something, I know myself.
There's no doubt, and
exactly.
I don't disagree with you at all. But we do have a problem in the country.
We do.
With over-prescribing
But
pain
we also
medication.
have to let them be doctors. That's what they went to school to do. So
Well, you've got good apples and bad apples.
you do, and there's a mixture.
The person that I knew that passed away in April started out because a doctor overprescribed her. She was able to go in,
Exactly.
and she was able to get what she wanted, and she was overprescribed, and it lasted for over a decade.
And he
And
probably
so-
should have titrated her off of it, you know, and
So you've got your good doctors and your bad doctors,
That's
just
right.
like anything out there. So I understand what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, John said it earlier, see something, say something. So
That's
we do,
right.
when we have some of these doctors that we know, and everyone in the community, especially if you have any sort of addiction, knows who these people are, that means their families know who they are, they need to be told.
And I would just echo what goes with safe prescribing is safe disposal.
correct.
When you've got 5 pills that are left in your bottle, as soon as you're done with them, right, rather than hanging on to them for that toothache that you might get or the really bad headache, which, I mean, I'm the first to admit, done it many times.
We all have.
No, you get rid of it because therefore I reduce the chance that my rotten 15-year-old son is going to be like, oh, what's this? Well, let me see what happens when I do this. So part of safe prescribing is ensuring and teaching patients about safe disposal.
That delicate balance of accountability of physicians, because I've worked with 200 employed physicians for a long time. might just have been upset by one more of the Supreme Court determinations yesterday. Are you aware of it? 2 physicians up on charges, their case was overturned because, in my interpretation of what I heard on Fox, the jury just could not possibly have fully understood what they were doing. Folks, I have understood what some of them are doing. So that's a precedent that could be very dangerous, so you might want to research what that case was, that our United States Supreme Court just overturned their prosecutions. That's not necessarily a good thing.
So the first thing on the agenda item is the agreement with the healing communities to continue the outreach program for 6
Second.
months.
Make that motion that we authorize the judge to sign that.
We have a motion and made by Magistrate, seconded by Magistrate Cullen, for me to sign a memorandum of agreement from the UK's Healing Initiative. Any more discussion on that?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
I want to thank Amy for coming, and she's always answers my calls and helps me whenever I need help, and she's also a great asset to the community, so I appreciate her. The next is the approval of our new outreach coordinator, Terry Dunn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Gay to approve Terry Dunn as the new outreach coordinator, and this is also under the healing community grant money from UK. So
If he's stayed seated here this long,
Yeah.
ain't nothing gonna scare him.
He's a keeper, isn't he? Any discussion on Terry Dunn? I'll let him and Mike speak for himself. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Terry?
All right, thank you, Judge, and just thank you to the courts for this opportunity. As I've kind of spoken with some others already, you know, this is very near to my heart, dear to me, because I have suffered from addiction in the past. I've had I've lived a pretty colorful life, I guess you could say, and one of the things that jumped out to me, and when everyone was talking about the addiction and the issues with the opioids, and I actually had a personal story there behind that. I probably around 4 years ago or so, I remember being awakened by somebody outside the house yelling our names to wake up around 3 a.m. in the morning. And at the time, me and my wife had taken temporary custody of our grandchildren, and our stepdaughter had been dealing with some issues, and with her boyfriend, the father of the children, one of the children anyway. But I remember they woke the whole house up, and we all ran downstairs. And I remember opening up the door, and another one of our family members coming with the news that my youngest granddaughter at the time, it was her father. He had overdosed and passed away. And I remember it was about 3 a.m. in the morning, and she was running and playing. She was about 2 years old, and she was just running and playing, and she was smiling while, you know, we were hearing the news. And of course, she didn't understand what was going on at the time, but at that time, it really hit home with me that this is really becoming an issue. I think in his case, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think in his case, there was some substance that was mixed in, whether it was the fentanyl or what, I'm not exactly sure, but he wasn't taking what he apparently thought he was taking. And there's so many variables, and I've kind of heard from all of you all, homelessness and mental health, and there's so many different variables to this. But I really am just grateful that you all are taking this so serious and willing to do something about it, because
you know, if a lot of us were just left to our own demise, and my goodness, what kind of world would we be living in? It. There was somebody at one point in my life that gave me an opportunity. And I think because I've got such a spiritual background, I'm also a minister of Jesus Christ since 2010. But there was somebody that never gave up hope on me, and always provided a source of light for me, that, you know, I didn't have to go out of this world that way, that I didn't have to settle. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for you all putting forth such an effort. And I know there's going to be more things to come. And I'm just really looking forward to, as I told Mike, I think when we talked, I just feel like this is kind of my destiny, where God has led me to at this particular point in time in my life. And I'm definitely up for the challenge.
You heard me talk about the plumber. And literally 8 or 9 days I was with him.
Yeah.
Many hours. How might I have recognized to help him that he had a problem? Because he was so incredibly professional, proficient, explaining everything to a guy who doesn't understand it. And I've always had a great respect for the trades. And here he is, one of the top plumbers I've ever met in my life, and he may not make it now. How would you have recognized something?
You will also be surprised, talking to Merle and Needle Exchange programs, how many functioning people that deal with addiction every day. So it's really easy to put it, when you look back and you know, it's easy to connect the dots. Sometimes looking forward, or not knowing, you know, sometimes you just miss the mark. But go ahead, Terry.
No, you're exactly right, because that's exactly where I was going. I worked at General Cable facility, and we made telephone cable and computer cable in Lawrenceburg. I worked there for 10 years. Much part of it, I was addicted to drugs for around 8. That company actually put me through 2 different treatment facilities while I was there. And, you know, that's almost unheard of for somebody that, you know, to go to work and end up not showing up, and, you know, not doing my responsibilities and things. And they say, oh, well, okay, we're not going to fire you, but we want to give you a chance. The reason they gave me 2 different chances was because I was such a talented employee and worker. I trained more people there than I could count. When I did show up, I did the job better than anybody in the building. So
no one could have recognized it when you were on your game.
You couldn't have recognized it. Now, after a couple times, they knew that I think the first time we had a cover-up story that was off for something, you know, my manager covered for me, but the word had kind of got out. But, you know, people, I think because I was, you know, I did work well, and I've just always been a compassionate person, even through my addiction. But I think they just really were trying to support me into just getting past it and doing better. But really, functioning addicts is very common. It's something that a lot of times you may not be able to catch. And we're often talented, very talented individuals in whatever it is we're doing. So it's a difficult.
I'm back to Magistrate Caywood about us all trying to help that person. If I don't know it, I can't even begin.
Yeah. And that's where the key comes in, is getting that individual to truly see what's been going on in their life, that life has become unmanageable. For a lot of individuals, you know, you've heard the word or the term bottom. They have to find their bottom, and I told them, I found out I had several bottoms. I thought I had made it to the bottom, and oh goodness, you know, you pull it out, and here I dropped a little bit farther, you know, and that went on. But I know it's just really getting them to understand what they're doing, not only to themselves, to the family, the people that are around them, the ones that they care about them, the ones that they love. And for me, it was my spiritual background, because I was raised up in church and father was a minister, and grandmother was, come from a whole family that has a spiritual background, and so that was always my fallback zone. That was always my kind of rock that I held on to, even in the mess that I had created for myself. Like I told Judge, it wasn't until I actually had a spiritual experience. And every time I talk about it, it's painful for me. But I actually broke into a church there toward the end of my addiction back in 2006. And it was in that church that I had a spiritual experience. And I won't go into great detail, but let's just say that God really got my attention that day. And he let me know that he is real. And he let me know that I wasn't alone, and that he hadn't, despite where I was and despite what I was doing, that he hadn't turned his back and gave up on me. That was the last day that I used drugs.
You're the man for this job.
Yeah, I agree.
Really comes down to what we can do is continue to put mental health at the forefront. A lot of this comes where people self-prescribe, they don't go to seek the help that they need. The less of a stigma we put on mental health, the better we'll be, and the better of a society will be. Thank you so much.
I'm excited.
Extremely excited.
Well, I think I've already got started. I didn't get to tell Mike, but I think last week I got a phone call from someone in the community that knows me. It was it was a female, and she, I can't explain, go into all of it, how she knew I was coming to this job, but she called, and they live in the Boyle County area, but she needs help for her husband, and and she told me, I heard it in her voice, she says, can I help him when he doesn't realize that he needs help? And she feels like he's got a bipolar condition that's untreated, and he's been self-medicating just because of his behavior that he's had for years. And those are the tough cases because it's difficult to break through that, and without them being treated for bipolar and not even acknowledging it that they have it, it's a tough one. So. I reached out and gave her my contact number and do plan on following up with them.
How do you jump the hurdle of HIPAA and the confidentiality? I mean, that's got to be tough, more difficult with you than many other providers of care.
Oh, it does. I mean, and that's just something that is, my previous job that I just left yesterday, I worked for a nursing facility in healthcare, and HIPAA is huge deal there. Constantly we get people wanting to know about this one, or wanting to know details about that, and it's just a thing you really have to be mindful of. You really just have to, I think, take your time when engaging with someone on what to share, and even like for myself. Just because of my background and what I've been through, that's not an automatic, reason for me to self-divulge to them, everything I've been through and everything I've done. I think you really have to engage them, and you have to use the right approach with different individuals, meet individuals where they are on their particular level. But I do feel like I can, keep HIPAA guidelines, and as I go out into the community and hopefully help. That's my goal here.
Terry hasn't said it, but he has a bachelor's degree in social work, so we were really excited to have him on board. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Terry.
All right.
Wish you the best.
Oh, thanks so much, Judge.
Hope to hear from you a lot.
Oh, yes.
You're always welcome to come talk to the court.
Okay.
Please.
So the number one goal is going to be obviously get out and help the people, but then we have to find, grants and things to continue to fund the position as we're doing such important work with it. Moving on to the next discussion, I'll try not to take a long time. It probably will be a lot of questions around it, but last fiscal court meeting, we talked about adding a 4th truck. We've been in this model for 22 years since I've been here. Our run numbers are, last year we made 6,219. We did the numbers in June. We're 10% above that right now. So, you know, it doesn't have to actually take, you know, however the court wants to proceed, but I did want to talk about a little bit about a revenue. I don't talk about a whole lot, but we do, Magistrate Caywood also points out a lot that you do get those in your packets every month about our billable runs and all those things. But in 1920, we brought in about 1.1 million. 2022 to 2021 was about 1.2, a little over. This year it looks like we're going to be at about 1.8 million, and that's the revenue from the runs that we make. So that kind of goes along with the run numbers.
It's a direct correlation of the run numbers.
Yeah.
When you have a business, if
Yeah.
you're seeing more business, you hire more employees.
Right. And
I'll make a motion. We go ahead and approve the 4th truck.
I'll second that motion.
Well, okay.
How we go after it financially?
I think we're in there, right, darling? I think we already have it
Well,
pretty
I
much
think
set
we
aside on the
probably
budget.
need to know for sure we're in there.
Are we in there?
I think, well, we have, when everything was calculated,
For y'all.
there was a certain amount calculated for the amount of overtime that they're having to do.
Yeah.
When they do have people that aren't there, then that amount is gonna increase. So if they have somebody, you know, that's taking on extra shifts, those are extra overtime shifts, not just extra straight hour shifts. So if they have a couple of extra people that are gonna be around, they will help fill in those gaps. That amount of overtime is not going to exceed.
Okay, I understand that concept, but also on the other side of that, does an extra truck increase the opportunity for additional overtime?
Well, again, this is a new model, so I'm not gonna make promises because we haven't put it in place yet, so we don't know the things that we don't know yet. But if we look at this month's schedule, there's 70 shifts scheduled. 50 of them, someone's either been off or sick. So that's one of the issues. The other issue is when we have discharges, again, it goes back to that model I talked about in the last court meeting. We have to have 2 trucks in the county available all the time for all emergencies. So if we do a transfer from Ephraim to UK for a coronary bypass surgery for a patient, then we have a truck out of the county. So what happens is all the other runs that need to go on, that we can't send any other trucks anywhere out of the county because we're holding the other 2 for emergencies, right? So what ends up happening is the patient will sit at the hospital for 2, 3, 4 hours while we have 2 trucks that are available, and we can't send another truck out. If we had 4 trucks, then we can send 2 trucks out of the county, have 2 trucks for the in-town emergencies, while still meeting the needs of the community, whether it's through emergency runs or non-emergency runs, because all those are still needs call for help, whether it's a patient going from the hospital that needs to go home on hospice care, or again, that patient's going to Lexington for a bypass surgery or whatever.
No, and I clearly think we need another truck.
Yes, sir.
And we need to work on the model.
Yeah.
I guess I'm always I get a little nervous when we start using the overtime money to try to offset it, because I oftentimes think that the overtime goes up with the additional truck.
You can't control your overtime.
How much
Right.
per year will this additional truck cost us? Approximately.
So if you hire 2 full-time EMTs, it'll be about, and their salary's about 38. So then you figure it's about what, 60? Yeah.
120,000 a year, and just 2 EMTs. You're not talking a paramedic, right? Because you run the paramedics on the chaser vehicles. It's 120,000.
Yeah, it's, there, right
Approximately.
now, yeah, well, I'm talking about this, the model, we don't have, there's a chase supervisor and then there's a paramedic on each truck when we have that. That's the ideal model, but
Yeah.
what you're talking about is something different. Sorry, I don't want to go down that.
No, you're fine.
You're coming up.
How long will it take us to get this truck in?
I was gonna ask it.
We already
We
have.
don't, we're not buying trucks. That's the one thing I want to make
Okay, so
sure.
this is staffing
We're not
now.
adding, we're not.
This is
we-
staffing a fourth truck.
This is staffing only.
Yes.
We have
Yeah,
the.
we have enough trucks.
We have 7
have trucks.
ambulances.
That's not what it's saying here.
I know.
I'm sorry about that confusion if it was,
Yeah.
but Darlene texted me and I meant to start off with that.
So what?
We're not buying, we have 7 ambulances.
Okay, yeah, that's.
So we have 3 ambulances running per day with a chase supervisor. And that's what it was in 1999 when I started, and that's what it is in 2022. We want
Okay.
4 ambulances running a day with the chase supervisor.
Mike, have you already hired these?
No, sir.
Sufficient
No,
number.
sir. I'm waiting on permission to do
Where you
so.
gonna get them?
Well, we just finished an EMT class,
Yeah.
so we have, you know,
No, EMCs, you've all said they're plentiful, but I'm talking about paramedics.
well, that's another goal that the judge and I are working on to
EMTs
try
are step 1 to step 2 of paramedics.
with BCTC, and we have a lot of other ideas that
The fourth or additional truck would be manned by EMTs,
yeah.
not
But
paramedics.
Anytime it goes out though, you've got to have a paramedic with
That's
it.
the chase. That's the commander on the shift.
Okay,
There's a captain.
so the commander will go on each shift
Yes.
with
In
a
what, EC3 or whatever, what is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it varies every day. I mean, there's, you know.
So those trucks that we have will usually follow. So on the actual ambulance, you usually have 2 EMTs, and then if the call warrants it, they'll send the paramedic out in one of the chase vehicles. Not every call warrants having a paramedic run out there,
Yeah, so
which is
right now it's kind of a mixed model. It depends on staffing from day to day. We have what's called an ALS truck, which is a paramedic and an EMT, which seems to work best for Boyle County. But there's tiered response services all over the United States that are doing exactly what Magistrate Cullen talked
I
about.
thought
Where you
some time
send
ago, you told us anytime a truck rolled out, it had to have a paramedic with it.
Well, no, not necessarily.
No.
You told us that one before.
Well,
that's the way the model was set up
was
before.
set up. Yeah.
He had an EMT and a paramedic on each one, and through some trying of various things and switching of
Well,
shifts.
And the other thing is that we can't recruit paramedics. We're still one short. So if you can't get them, you have to adjust the model. Ideally, if I could wave my magic EMS wand and get whatever I wanted, I'd have an EMS, I'd have a paramedic and an EMT on every truck.
Well, I misunderstood you at the
Yeah.
last meeting.
I'm sorry about that if I
Because you
misspoke.
said that there's no
Yeah.
problem getting a paramedic.
Yeah, it's what I was talking to the judge about at our permanent meeting. It's when I talk to our committee, we get 30 minutes to talk about this, and then I try to do it within 3 or 4 minutes in a court meeting. I probably confuse you, but I don't aim to. I'm just trying to be respectful of everybody's time.
Well,
So
back
yes.
to the staffing then. Okay, so we're staffing.
Staffing only.
Of
Yeah.
the fourth truck.
Two EMTs.
But
right
the,
now.
still, my point is the same.
Yeah.
Is that I'll get concerned that even in the staffing situation, a fourth truck. It sounds like to me there is a high risk that we could increase our overtime versus decreasing it
Yeah.
because of having to have four shifts.
Four
Yeah.
trucks.
And-
Well,
and
four
Four
trucks.
trucks.
Possibly.
Yeah.
In 19 and 20, you said we were bringing in what?
1.1.
1.1 million.
1,119,000.
So we'll just say 1.2.
So yeah,
And then in 21,
2021.
2021,
1.2.
1.8 now.
and now we're at 1.8.
We're at 1.8, and that does not include the House Bill 8 money that we get, which is an additional it's around 225 to 250, depending on how many Medicaid patients we have. So we're, according to our billing company, which I had a meeting with last Friday, we're going to be over $2 million this year.
So we're up we're up $800,000 from in billing from 1920
Yeah.
is where we're at. So where's that extra money going to? Is it just going into our general fund, or what do we?
Well, right now it's
No, it's right now, it's been in new equipment and staffing.
No equipment staff.
How much short are you that the county has to put in after you get this 1.8 million?
Say it again, I'm sorry, I missed
What,
it.
I know the county has to put in a pretty good amount.
Yeah.
How much does the county
How much
subsidize
does the
your
county
revenues?
subsidize?
Yeah, well, this next,
Revenue shortfall.
this next budget year, our budget is 4.8, but $1 million of it is in ambulances. So,
I just wanna know the exact amount,
yeah,
if you're being certain.
so if it, yeah,
Usually it's about 1.2 million is what the county subsidizes, if you want to call it that.
Mike, will the transfer problem ever get worked out?
actually, I think it's gonna be a lot worse.
Can we charge them more?
Well, you can charge whatever you want, but there, contractual allowances, you'll get what you get.
Yeah, we get. Okay.
Mike, what's percentage of your billing do you receive payment on?
I can get you those numbers, cause every Friday, in fact, I can bring you a financial summary. It's on my desktop if you wanna get in, cause it has the contractual allowances, the bad debt, all that. I can bring you back. I don't wanna speak, cause I don't have it to memory, so I can bring that back to you.
Is the collection agencies helping out any or?
They usually collect around, again, don't hold me to these numbers, but it's around 10 to 12,000 a year. And again, that's just soft collection, because after they go, you do the 30, 60, 120 billing, and then after that, we send them to a collection agency. But if they don't pay, then we don't, we're not trying to legally go after them. And most time when people pay, it's usually when they run their credit report and they've maybe overlooked the bill or whatever, then they pay it so they can go ahead and buy their
My
house.
theory back when we wanted to hire the collection agency, because I thought it would be worse publicity than what we're going to gain from it. I still believe that.
So we're going down a dangerous path. We went to this 12-hour model because our staff was fatigued. They're running a lot. And we're kind of going back to a 24-hour model because of all the extra runs, the people that are having to come in to do extra shifts. So we're really shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, we're up enough to warrant the fourth staffing.
Is there a way, is it even conceivable that we could do a 90-day test period to bring EMTs that are currently in our organization and put them on a seasonal, like full-time status for 90 days and measure the productivity and utilization rate for the ambulance and them and see what the offset on overtime is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do whatever you want me to. I think we've kind of demonstrated that when you look at the numbers from 19, 20, 20, 21. When the numbers go up, the revenue goes up. And then I also want to make sure I say that our providers are the ones that are having to fill out these run sheets. Without the billing has went way up in the last few years. Our job to get these runs billed and collected is tremendous. I mean, it's insane how hard it is. And just to give you a quick example, just because someone calls 911 doesn't mean Medicare is going to pay for it. But now it's by law we have to take it. So we operate under Medicare guidelines to make sure that we document the run as accurately as possible so that we can get that reimbursement, and that's shown here also. But what we need with that fourth truck is when you make a run,
Fourth staff.
with the fourth, I don't know if I can process in my brain because it's 22 years of having 3 ambulances. So adding a fourth ambulance, I guess 2 staffing, 2 more EMTs is. When you do a run, you don't just drop them off and they sign for it and then you're available again. You've got an hour and a half worth of run sheets that has to be filled out completely. And if it's not done accurately, then we don't get paid for it.
So how long has it been since we've went with this shift you know.
Building agency.
This July we've been 12-hour shifts this July 1 for 1 year.
Okay, no, I'm talking about since we changed over to our different shifts. When did we start that?
Yeah, last July we
Was
approved.
it 1 year?
Yeah,
Okay.
we approved to go
So,
to
you
12-hour
know-
shifts, and we're still full staffed, and I count it because of what we did there. Because
One reason we did that, Mike, was to save overtime.
yeah, well, yeah.
And the way I look at it, it really has it helped us that much in overtime?
Well, the overtime is not because of.
I know you got a number of you got more calls, but that's nothing you have control over.
Right.
If the number of people gonna call in and won't.
The reason for overtime is people take vacations, and you have to have people.
Yeah, you gotta take all that in consideration. That's true. I mean, I know where you're going with on this.
Like Dwayne at the road department, if someone calls in or he has a couple extra people off, then he can put that work off a day. We have to have 3 trucks with 6 people at minimum in those trucks, or we can't serve the community, whether it's inter-facility transfers or 911.
Okay, if you're going to this 4th truck, are you gonna run into the same situation?
The idea. that
Even
we have-
hiring 2 more people?
The idea we have right now with the supervisors is we're going to hire 2 EMTs and do like a 10 to 10 truck, because that's our busiest time.
Cause you still got people taking off,
Yeah.
getting sick.
Yep.
So I guess what is the bottom line?
But the
budget
benefit
request?
though is, instead of having 3 trucks and then people taking off and being down to 2, that 4th one technically covers if they have time
It
off
ain't
or
gonna
whatever.
cover if you ain't got the people to cover it.
We do have people, we just had an EMT class.
The only way to fix that, for us to have 4 trucks every day, is to hire 2 more people.
So what is the budget, bottom line budget amount that we're needing here? Do we know?
Well, it goes back to 120,000, which is the 40 for their salary, and then the rest is for retirement, like
Insurance.
So then that goes back to, I think, our original question, do we have that
Right.
in our budget, which we're getting ready to approve the second reading of to go? And I guess my point is I don't want to blow up the budget before we even get off the ground here.
So hiring these 2 extra people on that truck, that's not gonna save us anything on overtime, is it?
Yes. Okay. So let's say we have everybody at work today. Nobody's taking off. Everybody comes in. Now we have 4 trucks. Okay. So we can, we have 4 trucks to work with. Tomorrow shift, someone calls in. Now we don't have 4 trucks. We've got 3 trucks, but yet we're not having to pay someone overtime to fill that spot. So.
Some shifts ain't gonna have 4 people.
Sometimes you're just not going to have 4 trucks.
It would allow the flexibility to have, they would still be able to have at least a minimum of 3 trucks, and sometimes 4.
And the thing about this is as we go along, if we see, 6 months from now, if our run numbers are down, we have an open spot, if the fiscal court chooses to let's go back to 3 trucks, we have the flexibility to do that.
Mike, I want to revisit something I brought up several months ago. Do your EMTs and paramedics handwrite these claims that go to Medicare?
It's okay. So the run sheet is electronic, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is who we're under. They have something called the NEMSIS Data 3 version, and that's what we have to put in. So it's basically a whole bunch of checklist things that you have to answer that have hard stops if you don't get through it. And then at the end, they do have a narrative part where they have to type that they do.
So do they handwrite, then type, then turn it in?
No, it's all in the computer.
Here's where I want to go. My GP
Right.
and my surgeon who put my hip in 16 months ago, they use this, and I know there is software that nobody touches a pad because it's converted by computer and typed out. Couldn't we save a lot of grief, a lot of time, and probably even increase the accuracy if somebody's tired when they're filling things out by dictating it in and getting the software that would print it out?
Yeah, possibly. I don't disagree with that. It's just,
These guys have a high liability for doing things right or wrong.
Right, yeah.
Far beyond Medicare and Medicaid
they're just
claims.
they're not doing it in the back of an ambulance.
And they also have
or
secretaries and
traveling,
admins that do
No,
it for
no,
them.
there's no secretary involved in this.
I Dr. Grant uses it in the ER. I seen
My
him use
point.
it. It's just, again, a lot of times when you're doing your run sheet, you may be on the way back from Lexington. So that's not quite the ideal situation of being able to have a quiet environment to be able to dictate that stuff. I'm happy to look into it. Anything that would save our people grief, I'm 100% on board with. But
So
it doesn't change the fact that
not that this ever happens, but right now he's got to have 3 trucks there at all times. And kind of what Darlene started to allude to is if, and not that this really ever happens, but because they're always busy, but if they have 4 trucks technically, and you have 2 people take vacation, you still have 3 people covering. If you go back to the 3 truck scenario, you have to bring people in. So they're being brought in on overtime to cover those people being out.
we
So
have a
you're
man-
going to see, I would imagine, a significant amount of savings that should pay the difference in this. But, I mean, the city said it last night, you know, one of your main duties to your taxpayers is to provide first responder services. And if the data tells you that your run volume is up, I mean, we haven't changed the 3 trucks in what, 22 years?
Yeah.
It's been, for 22 years, it's been 3 trucks. And at that point, our run data was up 10%.
Well,
It's a 25% revenue increase.
well, I mean, back when I started, it was 3,000 or 4,000 runs a year. Now we've doubled that.
Yeah. So and so they're looking at already being 10% higher than last year, which was 10% higher than the previous year. So I don't know.
Let's take the vote.
I'm a little passionate. I spend a lot of time with these people. I
Let's
see
call
them.
for the question and take the vote.
All right, questions been
So
called?
are you gonna have these people on rotation?
So
These extra people where they can cover different shifts?
So if
Connie, I on call.
if we don't have on call, but if we hired 2 people, they would work 3 days one week, 4 days the next. We're still trying to figure out. I think right now the best idea is to have that surge truck 3 days one week, 4 days the next week. Start out with that. And
Really,
see.
you probably need 4 instead of 2.
We probably need 4 people, but let's
to get it to work right.
Let's see what we can do with this, and then.
Sometimes you got to use the fire.
All right,
extinguisher
there's a
before the
motion
fire
made
department
by
gets there.
Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Ellis, to go to additional staff hire of 2 people to increase the ambulance availability from 3 to 4.
I'll vote yes as long as it's in the budget to do it. Okay?
All right, let's go.
All
So
those,
are we all, rest of us going to vote too?
If you want to.
Passes.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries now. Thank you.
I will.
When will
bring-
this start?
Well, I have to get
July 1.
people hired. I will bring back
With the new budget.
to
Next fiscal year.
Our next meeting. We have the EMS committee meeting next week. The first meeting next month. I will bring back the financial summary for this year. Then I will also make sure that you get it in your packet and you can ask any questions. Then it's more detailed than the one that you get every month. So.
Put the burden on Bill to check that out.
We'll do.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Judge. Appreciate
Mike,
it. Yes, sir.
do you think the transfer issue will ever get worked out? And
No.
Do you think the hospitals will ever?
Get worse.
It's going to get
Position
worse,
itself.
and we got to keep in mind the growth of Ephraim McDowell. Dr. Grant points that out a lot to me about how many beds they have now. I mean, they're close to 200 beds at Ephraim. So the way the system's designed is every hospital can't have a cardiothoracic surgeon. Every hospital can't have a trauma surgeon or an endocrinologist or a neurologist on duty all the time. So transfer is just the way that healthcare works. You go to Ephraim with trauma patients. We take them to Ephraim. They get stabilized. If they decide they need a higher level care, we transport them to Lexington. Sometimes they'll go by, aeromedical. 95% of the time they go by us. So
UK's
So it's-
getting ready to build a whole new campus up in Lexington.
with
And
the
Baptist as well.
with the House Bill 777, I think it's going to make things worse, and I think we're going to be transporting a lot of mental health patients that could go otherwise because of the way that I think that they're going to. I think that's what's going to happen.
That has a great effect.
They're going to put the burden on us, and I'm not saying that it's not a good use of an ambulance, but you know, when you have to triage patients, you know, it's difficult.
One quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
We don't want to get into too long of a discussion on this one. 911, do we need to have a discussion about possibly rethinking our contract with the city and maybe going outsourcing 911? Think about that and talk about it next week.
Talking about dispatch?
Yes.
Okay, I will.
We seem to be working out pretty well at the moment.
Do you get the calls?
I'm sorry?
Do you get the 911 calls? I would talk to our first responders and see how happy they are with our current 911 setup. So
He's the one to tell you.
Well, you need to do is get Jason a license.
All right, I think Bill's waiting out in the hallway. Move right along.
yeah, I'm trying.
Thank you.
I already do.
Sorry.
Bill, come on in.
I didn't want to interrupt.
We don't talk too long.
I'll make a motion we approve Bill's surplus equipment list.
I'll second.
All right, moving right along. Thank you.
Any discussion?
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
He does have a surplus list that you.
Well, you've got a list, and there are some other things too, but we have kind of spot checked them. Stuff that actually got moved into what I affectionately call the IT morgue when I first got here.
There's a lot down there.
And there's a lot down there, but it is all junk, fellas. It is worth absolutely nothing. There are no hard drives in it.
Nothing left downstairs. In the
I would like to clear it out so that I can start making. I've got to vacate my room for the wiring project, and I have to downsize considerably. So I need to get rid of that stuff. And Angie, I've already talked to Angie. She has graciously offered to bring the trailer up here with a little bit of help and get that cleaned out. But gentlemen, there is absolutely nothing there worth anything.
Let's do it.
So you're not gonna have a yard sale?
It would cost us more to put on the yard sale than we'd make.
Thank you, Bill, for coming.
So,
do y'all want to do
need a motion? The stuff has already been surplused off of inventory.
Already been motion second.
I made the motion.
Cullen.
Jamie seconded it.
Jamie seconded, okay.
Jamie thought it was a comp agreement first.
This is disposal of the
surplus items.
Surplus items.
There's also I'm sorry.
There's also a list of equipment from the county clerk that is to be surplus. Most of it is to be destroyed. Old equipment.
Do we need a motion on that one too?
It can be included.
I would think it can be included. We've got a lot of old stuff that for some reason it got surplused off. It's no longer on inventory. Nobody just ever got rid of it.
Y'all are hoarders.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Have you talked to Courtney about the stuff down in driver's license? Have you talked to Courtney Shoemaker about the?
I have.
Okay.
I got a plan.
Okay, cool.
All right, Steve, you're up. Talk to us about mental health.
Well, we all need it, right?
We need a break.
Yeah,
Who's
came
ordering
before
lunch?
you a couple meetings, or our last meeting, I guess, to ask about permission to pay for this consultant to do our analysis of mental health parity. The price was $39.99. That's $3,999. You'd asked me to go see if I could get a cheaper price based on our number of employees, and he said no, and he says right now our new price is $49.99, but I'm gonna give it to you at $39.99 since I already promised you that. So
I move we approve the.
All right, that's fine. We already approved it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
has it been approved? Okay.
It was approved.
It was not approved.
Oh, okay.
You asked me to see if I could get a better price.
Make that motion.
I've done it. Okay.
Did we approve this the last time? Is that what we said we did?
I thought we
need to-
did, but we asked him
we
to
asked
go
him
back.
for it to sharpen the pencil, get a sharper pencil approach.
And you come back.
And that's what he's done, and there isn't one any sharper.
No.
So we need to approve the contract
Motion
as
second.
submitted. And motion made by Magistrate Gaines, second by Magistrate Cullen. Any more discussion on this?
I'm just wondering why, do you think we really need this?
Yes. Well, I don't have the expertise, and nobody here does, to analyze the claims and that have been processed over the past year to satisfy the government. If they come back and say, we don't like what you've done, do it again. I don't.
$40,000 is a lot of money.
No, it's 39.
It's 4,000.
4,000.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have.
$39.99.
You said 30, you did.
3,000.
Right.
Okay,
You heard 40?
yeah, I did. $39.99 to me means $40,000.
You're right, I should have been clear.
Second.
Did you get a copy of that? It says 3,000.
We got to vote on this one first.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
Close. Call for question.
All right, are you okay
Yeah,
with
yeah,
$3,900?
Yeah. Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Make a motion, we approve.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
We're, the comp time agreement, motion made.
Yep.
Who seconded it?
Jamie.
Jamie?
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay, please.
Thank you.
All right. Now it's Darlene's time.
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we approve the second reading of
Second.
the budget.
okay, yeah, second read.
Okay, well, we do have a motion to approve the second reading of the budget of Magistrate Gay and second by Magistrate Cullen. Discussion. Questions?
Just want it on the record that we do have the 25,000 prepared, that you and I
We
looked
do.
at. Yes,
Mhm.
thank you. I get calls.
Yeah, it's in there. Okay.
I thought it was $25.
No, that's Phil's 40,000.
That's so we can have Wallman redone?
Okay, there being no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Second reading is done.
Okay.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Settlement time.
All right, treasurer settlement. This was just my monthly settlement from
Make a
May
motion, we approve.
31st.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Short. Any comments, questions, or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Then I have the proposed wage increase. This is according to the budget.
Make
Make
a
a
motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Short and seconded by Magistrate Gay to approve the wage increases per budget. Any discussion?
Yes. It's my understanding that at some point we'll probably have to reopen the budget to make an adjustment in it. When we do, one person that was sorely overlooked when it came to wage increases was Susanna down in tax admin. So I would like to see when we do open it, we go ahead and give her a 5% increase. She spent several months by herself while Jackie was up here fixing things.
You put that in a motion, I'll second if you do.
I'll put that in motion.
Second.
Motion been made.
Well, we got one on the floor still, right? To vote on, don't we, or are we?
I thought we already voted.
Yeah, we voted.
No, we voted.
We voted.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You were here.
We could vote.
Yeah, we got it. All right.
Already in Woodford County, huh?
Yeah, that's right, the wage increase. Did we vote for it?
Oh, the question is on the motion.
Didn't we?
Oh, we
Did
didn't.
not vote on the wage increase?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We were in discussion.
We were in discussion. We didn't vote on the wage increase. I'm sorry, you're
Okay.
correct. So I'll go ahead. We'll do that after. So vote.
Wage increase to amend it with this current.
Just vote on the wage increase. I thought we did, but maybe we didn't. I made the motion.
Yeah, we didn't because you went into discussion and that's when I started talking up. So we have to vote on this and then I'll make a motion afterwards.
All right, all those in favor of the wage increase as stipulated in the budget, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Now I'll make a motion. I'll make an emoji.
Make an emoji.
I'll make a motion that when we reopen the budget, because we have to for, I believe there's an adjustment for TAP that needs to be done. Is that correct?
There will be.
There will
There
be.
will be because, yes.
So, when we do that, we need to increase Susanna, or Emma S. Ryan, is this listed on here, give her additional 5% increase.
I second it.
Motion
That in
been made.
addition to the increase she's getting
It
in
would
the
be
wage
the COLA.
increase?
She got the COLA.
Okay, and then it'll be another 5% on top of that?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's
Yep.
what he's saying.
Okay. Is that what we,
Pretty good increase.
Oh, question.
It's within the scope. All right, motion was made by Magistrate Cullen, Houston, and seconded by Magistrate Simmons. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Unanimous. All right.
Okay.
Is that it?
Actually, no, if I may, I need to take a slight amount of leeway. I realized I did not have a new line item. It is scanned in, it's at the back of your packets, and it was, under the general fund. It's for the Parksville Water Project. So I needed to just make a new line item for that.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Okay.
Motion to approve the new line item in the budget as just presented. Made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Ellis. Any questions?
Judge, is all that construction now underway? The pipes under the roads and?
I don't think all of it is now.
But the project is underway?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
They've been turning in invoices.
Yeah, we do have them.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. I also have two last things, I promise. One, I have some additional journal entries that I'm taking off. These are checks, old checks that are over 5 months old. So basically, I'm just cleaning up those checking accounts for the year. And they total $4,807.92.
So do we need a motion on that, or is that just for informational purposes?
It could be either.
I'll make motion.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Gay to accept the what we call the cleanup of some checks.
Yeah.
And from this previous year's budget, current year's budget. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. Last thing, I do have something for the auditors. I have the auditors coming in tomorrow, so if you all could take just a few minutes, it won't take probably 5 minutes to fill out these forms that I have already ready for you. Yes or no, sign your name, and get it turned back in to me so I can give it to them.
Thank you.
So, and then that is it.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
How's the software project coming?
We have, the chart of accounts is basically in and entered. He's making a few little cleanup things to it. Where Mariah was out last week, she's still going over a couple of the vendors and to get those cleaned up a little bit more. We are pushing for August 1st to September 1st as a start. As far as general ledger, purchase orders, payables, it will not be every single thing, but it's going to be the start of getting everything in. It's going to take a little time to, get everybody trained, obviously, but it is moving right along, and they've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes that we don't see because like tax admin wanted so many years worth, so they've got a separate group that's actually working on that kind of separately, pulling in
Migrating stuff.
all of that data, yeah, because it's hard to take such old software and translate it into new stuff.
Have we found out any more money on grants?
No, we're still looking into that. It's where it's trickled down from federal to state. I don't know that it's actually opened for the state yet.
It's not.
So I was gonna say.
All right.
All right. I think that is it.
And that is it for me.
We'll go around the room with committee reports. Oh. Magistrate Simmons.
I'll turn it over to my chairman, Mr. Schultz. Magistrate Schultz.
Anybody have a brief district comment or anything you'd like to make?
No, sir, I already asked about the homeless shelter, and that's something I'm passionate about. So we more discuss that. That's all I have, Judge.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
reports.
Yes, sir.
Animal control meeting was held at 11 a.m. June the 7th, 2022. The facility is really clean. They keep it real clean there. There was 12 dogs, 10 cats were available for adoption. In the previous 2 months, 5 dogs and 6 cats were adopted. They changed on the adoption fee. They run some kind of special for $106 if you adopted a certain period of time. All the food is donated by different vendors in Danville, and when the food is starting to get outdated, they give it to, if people comes in and needs dog food or cat food, they give it to them so they don't have to throw it away. And then they give dog food away when they get adopted if they need that. So, but the gates are open and from 1 o'clock to 4 p.m. for the public, and we ended our meeting at 11:15.
From 1 to 4. Our staff goes in at 8.
Yes.
And I thought we had a different sign on the gate to call a number to activate our staff at 8 o'clock when they go in.
It is on there. It just had. I just put the number time down when people can actually go in.
Okay. Well,
I
think
the gate is
go in.
open.
I think they can go in at 8 if
yeah, if they can call in. But a lot of times they don't answer the phone to get called in.
Well, I got to find out about that because that's not acceptable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I make a motion to accept the committee
Okay,
report.
motion to accept the animal control minutes by Magistrate Short, seconded by Magistrate Simmons. Question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Also, the Environmental Service Committee met on Tuesday, the June 7th, 10 a.m. in the Government Service Center. And report that Boyle County was receiving a grant for $201,317, a recycling grant, and hazardous waste, household waste grant was $21,799. Angie also gave me a 6 months total of recycling and revenue. Total revenue for January to June is $80,176.90. Total recycling, 353 tons of cardboard, 21 tons of paper, 12 tons of plastic, 74 tons of aluminum steel. Make a motion to accept.
Second it.
Motion made to accept the Environmental Services recycling minutes, meeting minutes, made by Magistrate Short, seconded by Magistrate Simmons. Question?
Question.
Yes, sir.
How does that compare to previous year?
Oh, a lot of difference.
Yeah. Is there?
Oh, yes. We probably didn't receive, I think last year, this time we probably didn't even have $20,000. I mean, with all this new stuff she's brought in, before she can separate the paper and plastic and all that,
she's selling
plus,
a lot more.
Plus it's increased.
Yeah.
Paper and all this stuff's increased, so that's a good number, $80,000.
Yeah.
So far this.
It is wanted to make it known.
Yeah.
She's done an excellent job. We're lucky to have her in that position.
Okay, you got a quick district report?
No, other than our meet we had Wednesday at church or Tuesday about homeless people. And I'm sorry that some of the magistrates didn't get invited, but really, it was not for the magistrates to even be there. It's really mostly for different churches in the community, which was 5 or 6 churches there. And I think they invited the city, mayor, and commissioners and stuff, but none of them showed up. But this is really just something to get something started on homeless stuff, about getting some kind of shelter that that we can provide people that come in that don't have a place to
I'm
go.
going to disagree with you on that, because I think as a magistrate, we're all concerned, and we have an interest in this, and we should be on committees from ground up. I mean,
Basically, it was just really just an opening for, just to see what was gonna, how people was gonna react, to do this, but, I'm sure next time everybody would be invited, so. I didn't have a thing to do with inviting people. Yeah, I was just invited.
You were just cooking.
I was just cooking, helped cooking, and then just got invited to come, so. But anyway, if your feelings is hurt, I'll give you my pastor's number. His name is Brian Montgomery, and I'll give you his number.
I got his number.
All right, moving right along. Jamie?
I don't have anything. I'm good.
You good? All right. John?
Y'all had a meeting with some broadband people the other day with
Yep.
AT&T, and anything you want to share with us about that meeting? That came out of it.
Fruits of their labor. Your fruits of your labor.
Well, here's what happened. Before, probably a year ago, when ARPA came down, a year plus, the state, Commonwealth of Kentucky, carved out $300 million to set aside for broadband development and upgrades. And so they've been sitting on that, and there was an announcement by the governor last Monday, I believe, is that right?
That's right.
And he announced that certain entities had applied for grants from the $300 million pot and through the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. And one of our people that we had talked to a little over a year ago, I'm trying to think, Carla's last name was Spectrum, Sandusky, said that they were going to put X million, I'll just leave it at X, million corporately into Boyle County, and that they would make application to KIA for some more to round out their project. When they came into us before the announcement, we invited them here in kind of a broadband summit. They came first, and I think Tom and Jason were available, and Julie and Missy and myself, to listen to the presentation. And they made a very extensive presentation that I personally liked, because their work start, they applied for $2.3 million from KIA, and they got it. And that was one of the awards that the governor announced on Monday. And but that rounds out money they're spending corporately in the county. What I liked about it personally was they're starting in our most underserved area of the county. They're starting on the south side of the Nile. So they're working their way basically from the Mitchellsburg area down to Forkland in that area, and filling in the blanks there.
And that's actually stuff they're already working on.
They've already started working on that.
They showed different colored maps, and this blue part, which was really like large, is stuff that they're already working on. So like pretty much, that where Alum Springs runs right there, and below is kind of what they're already working on, in a section over in 4th, and then a section up top is stuff they're already working on. The grant that they received, and they put in more than 50% as well, which I think really helped.
They did. That helped them a lot, because the project that they are currently have underway, and they've already started stringing fiber, is about an $8.6 million project. Well, maybe, let's see, I take that back. It's probably about a $6.8 million project. But they have plans, and the reason we were talking to them, we wanted to see their big picture. The next phase, and they told us the ballpark they would like for the county to go back to KIH or to come up with some appropriated funds to match their corporate skin in the game that would take almost to the point of covering the whole county with Spectrum broadband. What I also liked about it is they have a 3-tiered cost model for medium to low income, families, and they have a model of at least 3 speeds, with the highest speed being 1 gigahertz, 1 gig speed, at probably $99 a month. 100 meg download, upload, both ways with fiber, is going to be in a low $25 to $30 range, and then another 200 meg download, upload speeds is going to be probably in the $50 range. So you can kind of name what outreach suits you the best. I think a lot of people, we put out a little press release on because we were so excited to hear the big picture and the commitment to Boyle County. We talked with other potential vendors and didn't quite feel the immediacy of support and that Spectrum had described to us.
And let me compare it to the old technology. You may remember that AT&T opened up a new tower on White's Ridge almost 2 years ago now, certainly a year and a half ago. If you're 300 feet down below it and you got forest in between you, it hasn't improved a thing. When it first went live, I drove all over the county. I went to the county line past Forksland. As I got back to the community center, I called every one of our services and called the judge's office and everything, had service. But you go back in toward town on 37 and the ridge is blocking you and the forestation block, and absolutely nothing. This is such a technological change, and it was so exciting. And we have to say this, long before the governor's announcement, our judge was involved in this, and staff were involved in it. Jason called us bookends in that meeting when we were talking to the fellow who, by the way, the presenter is a Center College graduate. And he was able to more than answer our questions. He offered up additional information on the hows and the whens of going through on poles, sometimes underground, and all the technology that will go into doing this. And we made sure to clarify, because a couple of people had the impression this is going to be free, and that's those subscription fees that the judge was talking
I think
about.
there was one Facebook post out there saying, boy, wouldn't it be nice if it was free? I agree with that statement.
That'd be great.
And
It would
total.
be nice. Ain't nothing
But it's
free.
never been discussed.
They say it's free to help somebody.
Yeah.
So when you go back to the map, the blue part was fantastic, like that they're already working on stuff. And basically this amount that now we're getting, or they're getting technically, will fill in pretty much everything else without a couple other spaces. Like I think Windstream got a little bit.
Up near Mercer County.
Yeah, and then Starlink got something or whatever, but we're pretty much going to see a whole blanket. I mean, I would say within the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, once they start stringing, yeah, and they've already started in this first phase that they got the money for, because they started with their skin in the game millions, okay? But this rounded out that first phase project.
What company's gonna do this?
Spectrum.
Spectrum.
And they are started where it needs it to work.
Yeah, and what's great is that these guys will come run all the lines, so whether they have to go underneath the ground or
No wireless.
or
No wireless.
or use poles, and then when it becomes available, they'll notify everyone in the area that's available. Then you've got another group that will come out and actually run the line from the pole or wherever it's at out front, the road basically out to the house.
They're a mile and a half from my house. They're a mile and a half from
We
my
told them
house.
to get you last.
They probably will. 'Cause I asked when he's gonna get out that way, and he said, we don't
No, but I
know."
mean,
So all the poll deals have been worked out. So that's behind.
Yes, yes.
So that's the time consuming.
Yeah, no, they essentially what they said to us was, we were like, well, how soon can you get this up and going? And they said, well, we're waiting on this grant, or if the fiscal court wants to put this money up, and then if we get the grant, we'll give it back to you, kind of thing. And we didn't even have time to kind of bring it up with the court because it had been approved. The only thing that kind of upsets me is that he said that they were expecting to hear about this back in like January and December when those funds were going to be released, and here we are in June. And so it's like, it's 6 months, not a big deal, but if they'd have had 6 months, they'd have already been further in the game of getting people broadband. So that was the only downside of all of this. But
It's
I mean,
coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Once they start, and I'm gonna just let you know, I'm gonna actively, aggressively pursue what it takes to get county funding, or state additional grant money to help finish out Boyle County. And that would be like phase 2, which would finish Boyle County, or what, 90+% of Boyle County.
Virtually anybody who wants
Yeah.
it pays for it.
And so that's something I want to try and do.
Yeah.
And all total, from the first time on this phase 1 project, they're talking about completion of the 6.8 million, 24 months. That's wire, fiber to the house, all the way through their zones where they're going to be working. And it would be the same thing for phase 2, about 24 months.
That's good. That's a good report.
They start out cheap and
You
would go up.
Just quickly, couple more things. Tom, y'all lost a nice restaurant downtown.
Yes, we did.
And I'm so sorry, because in order to bring visitors in, you need a nice restaurant for them to.
Yep.
It's, yeah.
What
That's
happened?
what Cullen
Just
says
not
he'll
enough-
open back up, but no, seriously.
Not enough business, or what happened?
We lost the salted honey.
Yeah, no, didn't have enough business.
I think that's primarily it.
I can
because-
tell you that, I talked to him Friday night.
Yeah,
and that was, he,
When you think about somebody on their lunch hour, they're not gonna come from Danville and drive 10, 12 minutes each way. That eats in their, if they've got a full hour. And so we don't have the population center that was able to support it at this point. I'm not discouraged because others might still come in.
good place. Well, the building across the street is tough too, because
Yeah.
it's totally open. It just doesn't help your downtown.
Right, yeah, we need one in there. And Mimi's working on it, and I'm gonna try to help in any way I can. Because if they can get catering along with the restaurant, they might be able to pull it.
Last thing, I know this seems really early, but I wanted to just bring it up a thought. I'd like to have some knowledge of what Brass Band is working on for next year, because they should, in my opinion, they should be working on it now, and I hope they are. And I'd like to know kind of what the results were of this past Brass Band, because I would like to see us set some goals and do some planning way up front, because it's our time to show off.
Okay, yeah, it
Let's
is.
make advantage of it, and let's plan way ahead so we do such a great job of showing off.
Mhm.
That we've done all that we can, but you gotta start early to do it.
So would you like me to ask either Michael, Ian, or Tom, or somebody that's involved with GABBF to give us
I would think if they knew ahead our expectations, it would help them in their planning. Maybe around the table, you all would have some ideas.
Well, one idea that we've tried for years, that EDP did not jump onto, which was a real regrettable situation, and that is that Center College help us. We now have that commitment. If we help them structure what we want to do to go to grads of Center College, we'll get some of those folks back, and then we'll entertain them, and we'll show them what they have available, and some of them have done very well and could invest in our community.
But yeah, really, they've been asked to come back to their home.
You're on that board.
That's why we need to ask.
You're on their board.
For another 22 days. The
All right.
EDP board.
That's awesome.
Okay, thank you, Don.
All right, I'll be real quick. We had an EMS committee meeting on the 16th of May. Runs, no, he has the wrong date up there.
You gave that
You're a little
same
bit
thing.
late there, brother.
You gave that one to us like.
Yeah, I think you did.
All right, 6:14. No, because I had it written down here. He just didn't change it up top there. I'll get on him. See, he's too busy. He needs that fourth truck.
You couldn't ask him so many questions.
Runs for May, 5/29. Lieutenant promotion, Kimberly Hagan was promoted to lieutenant. Staffing discussion, which we did today, was about operating a fourth truck. And then we also talked about the outreach coordinator update, which was Mr. Dunn, which is who we took care of today. I'll go ahead and submit that for approval.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, you have a motion and a second by Magistrate Gates. The motion was Magistrate Cullen to accept the EMS minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you.
All right, I'll make this quick. General, I really appreciate you being here today. I know you're in a lot of pain. This is not easy for you. We're hoping to make this a quick meeting. So thank you very much for being dedicated to this meeting. I often thank first responders, but this past week we had a lot of hay fires out over in my district for a constituent. And so I'm really grateful for the Boyle County Fire Department. Came out several, I think they came out 4 or 5 days in a row to help with this. And so I'm grateful for them. And then they were, responded right after to a car accident out on Parksville Krause Pike. And then that night we were over on Chenault Bridge for a fire for Dr. Stitch. So, reminder, people, visit the Treasurer's website for unclaimed property. 4th of July will be coming up on, I believe it's on Sunday, right, is when we're doing the fireworks?
4th of July's on Monday.
It's on Monday, but is the fireworks on Monday or is it on Sunday?
I don't know.
It's on 4th of July.
Is it on 4th of July? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Over at the airport, they've got 2 fly-ins coming on 9th. It's a food truck fly-in. Not food trucks are flying in, but the food trucks at the fly-in. So you'll see some really cool planes, and there's opportunity to eat. On the 17th, that's what Tom alluded to earlier. They're going to have the B-25 bomber, thank you. That will hopefully have about 4 or 5 World War II vets, if we can get some that are healthy to go up in the plane. They'll circle around for a while and then come back, and then people have the opportunity to look at the plane. Everyone, please keep Carl and Rita in your prayers.
I hope everybody's up to speed on that. Okay, good.
Last time I checked with Angie the other day, that he was still in intensive care and she's still there. So if you're in Lexington, stop by. At least bring her something to eat. She's tired of cafeteria food.
I would like, now I'm gonna throw this out to the court. There's been some discussion and some desire, and through some texting, I've seen the court collected a little donation to provide.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I am too.
Kick in, and we can.
We'll use, if she doesn't mind, Missy as a
Conduit.
Point of contact on that.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
fine.
All right.
Wanna just give me some money or whatever?
She'll spend it.
Yeah, she'll spend
I'll
it.
spend it. No, I won't.
Last thing I wanted to bring up is that we suddenly lost a good member of our community the other day. Timothy Cullen passed away suddenly.
Tennis coach at the country club.
He was the tennis coach at the country club, spent some time at Center College as well. His wife, Miss Motley, is over at Danville Orthopedic Physical Therapy. Wonderful couple. Just, you see him everywhere all over town, and sadly he passed away suddenly the other day. So if you don't mind, if possible, if we could actually close in his memory today, that would be.
Say his name again for me.
It's Timothy Colleran, Colleran.
Okay. Tom, you mentioned somebody you would like to adjourn.
In honor of the 134 women, military service women who were on the honor flight. I think we've done 2 at one time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
Okay. First of all, it won't take a motion, but I had the same confusion that Magistrate Gay did for a moment. I thought we were going for another ambulance and 2 years wait. In the minutes, I would parenthetically, and for the public listening too, not to think that we're buying another $250,000, $300,000 vehicle, that it's staffing. So parenthetically staffing or something like that, rather than truck all the way through the minutes, because that's going to be confusion two years down when we don't have a fourth
I got it.
truck.
We're doing 2 hirings.
Yeah.
2 people.
I want to compliment Angie because we've had some sites in Parksville, Mitchellsburg, and out in Portland that needed cleaning up, and she's well underway getting those through the process of notifications and ultimately, if need be, cleaning them up with our funds and putting liens on the property. And I hope that the public is listening because folks, clean your property up or we will put a lien on your property. Milling is something that's desperately needed.
Tom will, I won't.
Milling of the old asphalt has been rising for the years through Main Street of Perryville to the point where it's flooding some of those historic buildings. And the judge and I and others are going to be meeting with the state hopefully tomorrow.
Hopefully tomorrow.
And the city council is very pleased that we're taking action on that to get that taken care of, because it's going to cause rot under the superstructure and foundation of some of those buildings, plus the fact that it can destroy our inventory in those buildings. So hopefully we're going to have great progress very soon on that. And I just know that Parksville, Mitchellsburg, and now Perryville folks are very grateful of the action on the ARPA funds to help out with all our water systems in western Boyle County.
Well, I appreciate the court's support of that because I believe very strongly that the county residents in those areas whose water rates have been high, we know, this effort will reduce it some, and it's a hedge in the long term. Because when you think about it, long term, why do you have rate hikes? Because you have to rehabilitate or upgrade the system to maintain a certain standard. And we're doing that right now, so we have a hedge on the future. And
Just like Parksville.
Yeah, just like Parksville.
And just one more thing, like Columbo said, I heard Randy Graham talking about his new book about police officers are our friends, and I think this is a great opportunity for folks in this area to realize just how important our police force and all of our response teams are in Boyle County. So Randy, thank you.
Yeah, this
I'm
book
gonna give mine
is
to
a
the
gift.
teachers at church.
Huh?
I'm gonna give mine to the schools at church.
Well,
so they can read it.
This is a gift to the court from Randy Graham and Eddie Montgomery and the artist. He brought one in for me, and each of you got a book. I thought it's great. If you look through it, I have a quote back there in the back of the book that talks about the value of the book in the age group and the community. But I thought it was very kind and a nice gesture for him to bring that in and present it to the court. He's going to have a book unveiling, I guess, presentation, I think on the 12th of July at the community room of the library. And Eddie will be there, Boomer will be there, and I think this is going to be a real nice book for them and helping us with the thin blue line and the way people look at the policing. So I don't really have anything. Like I say, I appreciate your concern. This sciatic nerve pain, when I just move a certain way, I can't get comfortable. But I felt that it was real important today to finish out the FY being here in court. Before I ask for closure, you have anything?
Just that we're continuing to work through the medical contract with the jail and Ephraim McDowell, and that should be within the next day or two.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I think we have pending.
Make a motion, we approve. We adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. All right. After the vote, then I'll adjourn us. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Today we adjourn in honor and memory of Timothy Cullen, a significant influencer in our community, and a Center College graduate, I believe. And we honor his name and service to the people of Boyle County, where he has been throughout his life, and he will be missed. And we also want to adjourn in honor of the women veterans who, for the first time in history, did an all-female veteran honor flight to Washington, and it was significant. And we had one here in the county Susan Craddock that was able to attend. And that is, as John Caywood knows, probably the cherry on top of a Sunday is anybody that's lived through the military career to be able to experience what those individuals do. So we adjourn in honor of Timothy Cullen and women vets from Honor Flight. We stand adjourned.
Just to clarify, he wasn't a graduate, but he was an assistant.